to start with some of those who you may not know as well, but who are infamous in their own circles. Let's begin with Vincent James, who's on the debate tonight arguing against Zionism. Vincent, tell us who you are, what you do, what kind of show or content you produce, and a little bit why you're qualified and been asked to be on the show today.
Yeah, hi. Vincent James. I have a show on Rumble, Daily Veracity with Vincent James. I've been around for years now. Some would consider me an old head. And I've been friends with Nick for a long time, and I appreciate you having me on. And I've done a lot of extensive research into the topic that we're going to discuss today, and can't wait to talk about it.
Awesome. Adam King, who is joining us today on the side, arguing for Zionism. Go ahead and introduce yourself and give us the same background on why you're here.
My name is Adam King. I am a host on InfoWarsBand.video. Before I get into me, I just want to start by honoring my opponents. I know Elijah started putting this together right as the war began in Israel, and we went so hard trying to find anyone who would step up to the plate, and all we found was a bunch of cowards. But these two men, both Vincent James and Nick Fuentes, upon hearing the challenge, accepted the challenge immediately. So I want to start by honoring my opponents' courage and bravery, and I applaud you both. I have a show on InfoWarsBand.video. You can check it out. I am a Hasidic Jew, entrepreneur, patriot, activist. I have all sorts of great guests. I got a lot of fun. I hope to have a lot of fun tonight and enlighten a lot of people onto the truth. With that, I'll pass it back, and looking forward to getting into the issues with you all.
All right. Well, if you're ready to get enlightened, speaking of that, Nicholas Fuentes, go ahead and introduce yourself and get ready to get enlightened, my friend.
Well, hi, I'm Nick Fuentes. I'm a live streamer. I do a show called America First, and I'm the president of the America First Foundation, and I'll be arguing against the Israeli or Zionist or Jewish position. I appreciate the kind words by Adam. Likewise, I think I respect both my opponents. Been a big fan of Gavin, and I've seen Adam's work. I think he's very intelligent, and so I think it's going to be a fun discussion. No hate, just America first and Christ the King. That's what it's all about.
Does this count as our opening statements?
No, I'm going to go into that in a second. I just want to get your introduction. As we just heard him right there, luckily and thankfully, we have him on the TV. The host who's on censored.tv, Gavin McInnes, needs no introduction. But for those who are unfamiliar, meaning if you're younger than 52, Gavin, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey, everyone. My name is Kevin McInnes. I started the magazine Vibe back in the 90s. It did really well. I'm responsible for the youth culture scene, the Beatniks that sort of gentrified Red Hook, Brooklyn. I also started a men's club called the Oath Keepers. It had some trouble on January 6th. And I'm the host of You're on My Lawn on uncensored.tv. And I'm here because I get checks from Jews to run cover for them. I am here to shuck for shekels, something like that.
Hi, this is Anthony Cumia.
Hello, I'm Gavin McInnes.
And together we're Compound Censored.
And we would like you to subscribe with this deal using this promo code right below me right now.
Do it, because it's very entertaining.
Yeah, all right. And before we get started, like I mentioned, I just wanted to let you guys know something very important. If you guys are trying to support the show, just know that you can support my merch shop directly. You guys can get your Noticer t-shirts. They're high quality in design. Depending on what you're noticing, whether you're noticing anti-Semitism on the rise or noticing Jews crawling out of tunnels in New York City, noticing is on the rise. Go to slightlyoffensive.com, go to shop. You can get a Noticer t-shirt. We offer them both in the style of you can buy in a more comfortable material, aka a better shirt for more expensive, or a cheaper shirt in standard material. Make sure you check it out, slightlyoffensive.com. All right, let's get into the censored.tv debate, and we're going to start here. I know this seems really stupid to people, but I had a debate between Austin Peterson, who was a presidential candidate for the Libertarian Party, and Keith Woods, who is an activist in Ireland and a political representative of Nationalist Party. And they could not equally agree on the definition of what a Jew is. And so while people argue about the existence of Judaism, Zionism, it's kind of crazy to me that when I ask different people, what is a Jew? you almost get the same answers as what is a woman. And so my first question is, what is a Jew? Let's go ahead and start with Adam. Since Adam identifies as Jewish, I think we should go ask a trans person what transgenderism is. Adam, what's a Jew?
Well, I don't only just identify as a Jew, I actually am a Jew. We have our own genetic ancestral lineage. Jews are the ones who are descended of the people from the Bible. And my ancestors were Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and their descendants. My family goes through the tribe of Judah, and that's what is a Jew. A Jew is a person from the tribe of Judah, and it's that simple.
Awesome. All right, so this is very basic. I mean, we'll get a little more back and forth here. Let's go straight to Nick. Nick, what's your definition of a Jew?
I agree with Adam. I think it's a race and or a ethnicity, whichever you prefer, but I think the genetic component is critical. You know, a lot of people say that it's a religion, and I think that that's what most people regard it as. When you talk about Jews, they think of Judaism and they think of a religion. But I think that's really, it's a false premise which comes from, I think, Western people who are familiar with liberalism and Christianity, which are universal. And I talked about this on my show last week. So Christians, of course, anyone who embraces Jesus can be a Christian. And liberalism has it that any human being has dignity, whatever their physical attributes or their race or their gender or anything like that. We're an individualist society. And I think when people consider Judaism, they don't necessarily consider it as an exclusive group with both a genetic component and a religious component. They just see it as a creed. And I think that's why a lot of people think that, you know, one can convert to Judaism, or that if someone doesn't maintain that creed, that they're not Jewish. But it is clearly a genetic component. They're a tribe, a nation. They have a culture. They have a religion. So I basically agree with Adam.
Awesome. Gavin, let's throw to you here. Whether you agree or disagree or have anything else to add, what is a Jew?
I recognize that there's a genetic component, but I have a very wide net when it comes to white people. I include a lot of blacks and Chinese. So I just see Jews as a religion that may even accept that Jesus is magic, but they refuse to accept that God can be more than one guy and there can be a God and a half. So they reject the half of Jesus Christ, and they say God is the only God. And that's really the main difference between Jews and Christians.
All right, Vincent, I'll throw the same question to you.
Yeah, I agree with Adam, and Gavin said that he casts a wide net when it comes to white people. Well, apparently so do the people who are in charge of crime statistics. But I think that Jews are a race. Judaism is a religion. Most Jews in America are actually atheist, and even Adam King would say that Jews are not really interested in spreading their faith. So I would agree with both Adam and Nick.
Awesome. I know we have a video here. I don't know, Brian, if we do have the video from Flawed, if we can get that up here in a second. Let me know in the chat. But we have a specific video that we're going to be bringing up in just a moment here. So Flawed TV, he's a rapper, and you know there's been a lot of conversation going on in particular about what is Zionism. And we call this a Zionism debate. I was actually really shocked, not only that everybody who agreed to come on would, just simply the fact that people did not understand what the debate is about. And that was one of the most genuine and authentic questions. And so Brian, Flawed TV, he's on Rumble. He's also on X, went ahead and sent in a question for the group. We'll go ahead and we'll play it. And whoever wants to jump in right as the video ends and begin answering, we'll just go ahead and start. That way, at any point, the rules of the debate are, if you're yip-yapping and you've created a yappuccino, I'm the only one who's allowed to do that tonight. I will shut you the fuck off. But if you have a good answer and you go long, feel free, and I won't shut you off. But let's be cordial, and please no speaking over each other. Brian, let's go ahead and play the video from Flawed.
Rapper slash Rumble streamer, and R.I.P. George Floyd. I have a two-part question. I've heard my favorite rapper, Kanye, say Zionism and Zionist over and over and over again, but I have no idea what it means. So my question is, what is Zionism, and is it good or evil? Plain and simple. Also, R.I.P. to Kai Young.
All right, who wants to take this one?
Well, I guess
Zionism
I'll
is
start.
just supporting Israel. That's all.
What is it? Gavin, you had a pretty simple answer. You said what?
It's just supporting. If you're a Zionist, if you support Israel.
But what does support mean? I mean, that's really broad. That's
You want it to exist. You want America to have its back. I think you could be a Zionist and not want them to get the $3 to $4 billion a year. There's plenty of Zionists, but you just support its right to exist, and you don't want it to disappear from the river to the sea.
All right, we will get into the river to the sea later, by the way. So I want to let you guys know we will touch on that exact.
When are we doing our opening statements at the end?
No, this is a defining moment, Gavin. I know that this is difficult. We're going a little slow here, but a lot of people were defining the terms here. Classic debate mode. So I'm trying to define Zionism. So that was good. All right, Vincent, jump in and let me know what do you define Zionism as? Pretty short and simple to somebody who's retarded and never heard of it before.
Yeah, so I guess this would be my opening statement. I know you guys said don't go long, but Gavin said something that I hear people say this all the time. They say that Zionism just means that Israel should exist. Now, before I talk about that, I just want to say, there are a lot of people right now that are saying that anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism. Jared Kushner says this. Ron DeSantis, who signed 2 bills for the state of Florida in the country of Israel, has said this. Nikki Haley has said this. Brett Stevens has said this. Adam King, who's on the panel right now, will tell you to disaggregate Israeli Zionism from what he claims Zionism actually means, which he says it means peace to all nations. He says that the term Zion refers to a utopia for all of humanity. Well, the truth is that Zionism was established as a political organization in 1897 under Theodor Herzl, and it was a movement with the goal of establishing a Jewish nation state by any means necessary. Today, its goal is to develop and grow that nation state by any means necessary, even if that means sacrificing Americans, sacrificing America, sacrificing American interests. Some people will say, and I've heard Gavin McInnes say this, I've heard Laura Loomer say this, some people say that Zionism just means Israel should exist. Now, my question to them would be which state of Israel are you talking about? What year? Is it the Israel of the Uganda scheme, which was proposed by the British to the Zionists and was going to be in East Africa? Is it the idea of Israel? Sorry?
2023.
Okay,
no one's giving up any land.
Well, yeah, but some people have different. So, my thing is some people they always say this, and so, but the question is what does it mean? Is it the idea of Israel during the Balfour Declaration signing in 1917? Is it the Israel of 1948 during the Nakba when tens of thousands of Palestinians were killed and displaced? Is it the Israel of the 1967 Six-Day War? So that's your definition.
When we talk about America, we don't talk about Texas and Spain. We talk about the borders that are alive today.
Okay, so the Israel of today that is currently committing a genocide in Gaza as they annex more territory. Or, for Adam King, it's the Oded Yanan plan of the greater Israel from the Nile to the Euphrates. So Gavin might disagree with the definition of Israel, Adam King's definition of Israel. He once said on an interview that would be sick if we had from the Nile to the Euphrates. So that's my question there. And then, do the people who support Zionism, the idea that Israel should exist, also support all of the things that have happened in the pursuit of Zionism? Like the secret operations against the U.S. and Western allies by Israelis and American Jews, countless false flag and direct attacks against Americans and its Western allies, endless wars and the annexation of land, Jewish American traitors in the U.S. government, the seizing of power in every single American institution. So my definition of Zionism is the correct one, and I believe that it is a force for evil.
All right, well, the truth is your definition of Zionism is the wrong definition. I thought it was quite interesting how you decided everything that I believe before I even spoke, but I will. I know you wanted to send it to Nick, but I'll just give my definition of Zionism. Go ahead. So, really, in truth, there's really 2 types of Zionism in the world. Zionism started a lot longer than Theodor Herzl. Actually, it was founded in part mostly by the likes of a very famous rabbi named the Vilna Gaon, as well as the Baal Shem Tov and the students of the Baal Shem Tov. And there are 2 types of Zionism: are religious Zionism and secular Zionism. So first came religious Zionism, which was a movement inside of the religious Jewish communities that pretty much said that the exile is over, that the Jews, we have a right to our homeland, and that we need to go back to our homeland in order to bring about the age of the Messiah. So religious Zionism is very focused primarily on the bringing of the Messiah and bringing the Zion, which is heaven on earth, peace to all the world and peace to all the nations. Secular Zionism differs a little bit from religious Zionism in the sense that these people don't really care so much about religion or the Messiah or anything like that. They just want a place where Jews can be sovereign. And where better to be sovereign than the land of our ancestry? And the land that Zionism seeks is the land that is outlined in the Bible as Moses gave to the children of Israel. So that's Zionism in a nutshell. In the most simple definition, it's the Jewish belief in in sovereignty, in
All right,
self-determination.
let me move here. Nick, I see you got your hand on your face. You look bored. You look like you're sighing. I'd love to know where you agree or disagree with not only the people on the panel, but also just what you would define it as. And just note, gentlemen, after Nick is done speaking, we'll start with Nick. Nick, share with us your opinion on this, and then let's give us your opening statement on your general position on this, your understanding of Zionism, and anywhere you want to go. Let's keep the remarks under 2 minutes for your opening statement if we can.
Okay. Well, I'm not bored. I'm not sighing because I'm bored. It's actually an interesting conversation. I'm just chomping at the bit to get in here. But no, I actually agree with Adam. It's important to note, and maybe this is where the agreement will end. I think actually it's interesting. Me and Adam are kind of like the true opposites. We're really the true opposite poles in this debate because he's a Messianic Chabad Kabbalist Jew, and I'm a Messianic Catholic.
I'm actually
Romanist
not a
Christian.
Chabad Jew. I'm actually a Breslov.
I'm sorry. You're right. Hasidic, not Chabad.
Different type of Hasidic.
Yes. So in any case, so we really are the true opposites, and it's important to note the distinction between the religious Zionists and the political Zionists or the secular Zionists. And he's right. I mean, the most prominent Zionists during the creation of the State of Israel were labor Zionists. That was the first handful of prime ministers and very left-wing socialists. And certainly it's true that a lot of Jews today, I think probably most of them in Israel, would not be considered religiously Zionist. And, you know, this regime that Netanyahu has cobbled together has a lot of religious Zionist Jews in there. And this has created a lot of tension with the United States and with Europe and even with the political situation in Israel. And so I actually agree. I think that, but regardless, the point is I think both secular and religious Zionists want a Jewish state in Israel. What that looks like, how that's structured, there's difference between them, but I guess those are the fundamental similarities. They want a Jewish state in Palestine, in what is considered Palestine. Now, again, the scope and who's going to be in there, that's subject to debate. My position on Zionism is I actually reject the religious Zionism more. I don't necessarily think it's a worse thing if the Jews have a state or have their own people. And although I think that what they're doing is inhumane and what they've done in the past is inhumane, and although I don't think the United States should support it, you know, this is a stateless people. They're a diaspora people, and they built a country, and it is what it is. You know, I'm not one of these humanitarian, you know, bleeding heart liberals that says, you know, that they're colonists or something like that. To some extent, I do believe in a might makes right sort of mentality because it's sort of difficult. What is the foundation of the state other than that, other than the ability to project force within a given jurisdiction? But the religious Zionism is troubling because, you know, Adam talks about the Messiah, but of course the Messiah already came. His name's Jesus Christ. And the Messiah that Adam has in mind is going to destroy the Vatican, is going to destroy Rome in his mind. He's going to seek retribution against the Catholic Church for all of the perceived iniquities that Rome has prosecuted against the Jews. So, of course, I don't support this messianic religious project because it's heretical and it's blasphemous and it's wrong. And fundamentally, it's set against and opposed to the true faith, which is Catholicism. So And just to sort of wrap that up, like I said, we are the true opposites in the sense that, I feel like in this debate and maybe in other debates, it's a question about, what should America do and liberals and this kind of thing. And I think Adam wants America to make the world open for the Messiah. I want America to form the world into the Catholic Church, to form the world into Jesus's church. And so in that sense, we really are these battling twin brothers of Rome and Israel. So that would be my opening statement. I'm opposed to it, opposed to religious Zionism. If there's political Zionism, I think the United States should not support it because they have been hostile towards us. They have not been friendly.
That's interesting. And Gavin, and I'd really want to point this out for people that aren't familiar with you. So obviously Gavin is a legend. If people don't know about this, to give credit, you're new to the show, make sure that you're following right now on Rumble. Make sure that you're following on X. We got to get these numbers up. But most importantly, that you can support on this amazing operation that Gavin put together, censored.tv. You can support it with the promo code OFFENSIVE, 20% off a membership. Shout out to that for somebody who's actually building alt tech, who's on this other case, who's putting his money where his mouth is, but he's also from New York. And so, I'm from LA, he's from New York. He's not just somebody who's, knows about Jewish people. He's worked with them. He's worked in media. And so it's really interesting to hear the perspective. And so as an opening statement, Gavin, giving the background and a lot of life experience in this area. Shout out to Nick, too, who just realized he's old now. He's found out, he's not one of these young Zoomer kids anymore or alpha kids. He's these old Zoomer boomer guys. Gavin, give us your opening statement.
Okay. The highest density of Hasidic Jews is Montreal, upstate New York, and Williamsburg, Brooklyn. And that's where I've lived since I was 18. And I think the Achilles heel with Nick's argument is he sees Jews as a monolith. Even within Orthodox Jews, there's constantly these civil wars. So I made this incredible chart to try to differentiate between what I call the four Jews. And they are, number one, Hasidim. Brian, you can hit it at any time now. What were you doing there? Like, it wouldn't occur to you to drop the hammer at that point?
Ezra Levant. Sorry, is that Ezra Levant in the back?
Yep. So there's Hasidim, and these guys are like Smurfs. They're a very weird little group. They don't really dislike Goyim or Orthodox. They don't even see anyone else. They're living in a bubble, and like the guys in the tunnels have nothing to do with Group 4, who we'll get to in a second. There is kind of like a tip of the hat, like thank you for your service between Orthodox and Hasidim, but not really. Like they have a mutual sense of respect, but they're not in the same universe. These guys are in outer space. So don't drag them into anything else here. And these guys are pro-Israel, anti-Israel. Then you have the Orthodox Jews like Ron Coleman. These are our allies. They're pro-Trump. They love Christians. They help Christians. They are great dudes. And they're an integral part of every movement, including, by the way, the new right. Alt-right, all these new right movements, you need Jews like this and this in the mix. I don't know. They're just good at organizing. Then you have the secular Zionist Jews, not as devout as Ron over here, like Ezra Levant. These guys are friends. They're cool. Your beef is mostly with these. I call them ginos. They're secular. They're anti-Zionist. They hate Israel. They're Bolsheviks. They're mostly atheists. They go to temple. Temple's a joke. George Soros is second-generation atheist. They believe in things like female rabbis. And you got to understand that these bitches hate these guys, and these three guys fucking hate this bitch's guts. Although Hasidim don't even hate these people. They don't think of these people. Like they sort of acknowledge these people, but these guys are in a universe all their own. So these two are the real Jews in the world. These are fake. And most of your beef, like in the media and in politics, is going to be these ginos. Now, the reason that I say I oppose anti-Semitism, well, one of the many reasons is I go, white people have this sense of ethnomasochism. We're altruistic. We want to debase ourselves. We're horrible. We're horrible. You see people from this group, a disproportionate number in media and politics, go, yeah, you do suck. You are horrible. So what whites do is or anti-Semites do is they go, these fuckers made me hate myself. And that's true. in a sense, there are a lot of people from this group saying that white people suck, but you can't put all the blame on them. There has to be some culpability here. And that is why I keep harping about this, because I want you to have some culpability. Before the end of World War II, before Jews took over the media, white people were still like, oh, we suck, we're horrible. You know, we had an American Holocaust in this country. We lost 620,000 men. That's equivalent of 5 million today. Why? Because we were worried about Negroes' rights. We were so altruistic. We were sailing boats over to Africa, you know, in Woman King, the Dahomies. We were like, please stop having slaves. We were more concerned about Africans than Africans were, or the Indians. We were so worried about the Indians. We had a 360-year war with them, and we were like, oh my God, that we fought. I love them so much. We named our cars, our towns, Ronkonkoma, Mamaroneck, and Geronimo, and Tomahawk fucking missiles. Like, we worshiped the Indians, and they slaughtered us. So whites have this sense of self-hatred, and to blame it on the Jews is a cop-out. It's like Jared Taylor says, you know, it was at the point where if it rains on your birthday, you blame the Jews. And that's what we criticize blacks for. Blacks are always like, man, I can't get a leg up because whitey's always knocking me down. Well, you're the same when you constantly blame this group. This group is not responsible. This group is contributing to your problems, by the way, but you also, as a white person, need to confront your ethnomasochism.
Okay, so we're calling that
I'm impressed, man.
Multi-Jewers.
I never heard a Gentile put it so succinctly like that. You could tell that Gavin grew up around a lot of Jews.
Go ahead,
I thought the K word was going to be dropped by the other side, but let's fucking go.
It's usually who say.
Vince, I'm glad I put this on YouTube. Someone was like, hey, are we going to live stream this on
This would have
YouTube?
been the last day of your YouTube channel.
Fuck no. Yeah, all right. Vincent, obviously you got
I
stuff
didn't
to
even
say
know
on
that you
this.
still had a YouTube channel. That's
Well, it
good job on
barely
keeping that.
exists.
You always
getting
wonder
9
about people who have YouTube channels, like if they're like in on something. Like, how do you still have a YouTube channel?
We don't make money from it, and we get like 9 views, so it basically doesn't exist. So please follow us on Rumble. Follow Vincent. Everyone's in there. By the way, Nick's on Rumble. We got Adam King as well on X and his website, everything. And also we got Gavin. So make sure you're following him on Rumble. But Vince, I mean, you know, he knows his Jews. He said he got his Jew stuff down. And so before we have the Jew and the man, the myth, the legend, Adam King speak, I mean, hey, give us your, I mean, you kind of gave your opening statement, but where do you stand on this?
Yeah, I just want to respond to Gavin a little bit. Like, a lot of those people that, and maybe not specifically those people that he has of the heads up there on screen, but a lot of those people that I guess would be in those categories agree on one thing, and that one thing is making sure that they defend Israel at all costs.
No,
and that Israel, and that
these three defend Israel at all costs. These would
I don't even know
let Israel burn to the ground.
Well, okay, but here's the thing. Like, if you look at like what Sarah Silverman's saying on Twitter, it sounds a lot like she's defending Israel, right? If you look at a lot of these atheist Jews, these atheist liberal Jews who you would describe or who you would categorize as ginos, a lot of them seem to be pretty strongly in support of Israel. And like you look at like
Sarah Silverman's sister is an activist in Israel. She is she's an Orthodox Jew. So I won't count Sarah Silverman. And Sarah Silverman, she is pretty darn fucking anti-Zionist for even someone who has a Zionist sister. But if you look at the other ones who will happily, they're pro-Palestine. That's the other thing I always argue with Nick about this. In Israel, there are anti-Zionists who are pro-Palestine and want the wall to go. Like the problem with you guys is you're devoid of nuance within this view of the Jew.
Well, so
I don't think that's true. I think, you know, in my opening statement, I differentiated between secular and religious Zionists. And you're right. I mean, there's even Jews within the Hasidic community, although not many of them who are anti-Zionist. And there's secular Jews who are anti-Zionist for their reasons. But ever since the October 7th attack, there's almost none of them that are pro-Palestine anymore. Everybody in Israeli society has moved to the right, and there's almost nobody that's anti-war anymore. There's almost nobody that's pro-Palestine. They can't do their protests anymore. No one will host them. They're dwindling numbers. And the reason for that is because when they are attacked, that is when you see the real nature of Jews, which, although you're right, I mean, there's that old trope about you get two Jews, you get three different opinions. They love to argue. That's really sort of the essence of their legalistic tradition. But when they are attacked by a Gentile, when they are attacked by the nations of the world, all those differences vanish and they all become cognizant and conscious of the thing that they have in common, which is that they are all Jews. And that's why, 3 weeks before the October 7th attack, Ben Shapiro was bashing Jonathan Greenblatt for years. And Jonathan Greenblatt was hitting a lot of the Zionist Jews, and the Zionist Jews were trying to undermine Greenblatt for years, ever since he took over ADL. But on October 7th, when that attack happened, Shapiro was retweeting Greenblatt. And Greenblatt went on MSNBC to shame MSNBC and said, you have too many pro-Palestine commentators on this network. And when the Chabad Lubavitchers in New York were in the tunnel, who's out there at the forefront defending them against the anti-Semitic tropes? It's the liberal ginos from ADL. And so I agree with you. I mean, there is distinction, there is nuance within it. But at the end of the day, they're all on the same team. And it's that race loyalty which is so pernicious in an open society like America, especially when they have influence. Blacks are very race loyal, but it doesn't really matter because they're broke. I mean, their average wealth and average income is so low. I mean, they really have no political agency. But Jews having that extreme race loyalty, maybe more than any other group, and it's a testament to them. I think that's a positive attribute in some sense. But they're here. And this is not the Jewish state. This is the American state. They wield influence, and they use it to their own benefit, their primary benefit, which is the nation of the Jews across the world, or the state of Israel. And that comes at the exclusion and often the expense and the detriment of the United States. And so, I don't hate Jews. I don't have necessarily even a problem with them. I don't want to kill them or harm them like people say. But I think that you can't have people in charge of the country. Like Adam says, America is good because it'll bring about the Jewish Messiah. That's not why America's good. I mean, this is a Christian nation. And that's fine if he believes that, but he should go believe that in Israel, not here. And certainly people that are running the country should believe that.
America is good because we have a constitution. And the constitution gives inalienable rights to the American citizens. Israel doesn't even have a constitution.
See, this is a great example of the nuance here. Adam doesn't like Israel. Like, he's a Zionist who doesn't like the Israeli government. And you see this with a lot of Orthodox and secular Zionists. They're furious with Israel right now. See, this, I think the tunnels is a low IQ argument. That's fucking kid stuff. But I think that the crux of our disagreement, Nick, is the monolith, the cohesion here. We've always disagreed about this. And this woman wants she thinks this is a death cult. And I'm using her as a metaphor, but these group 4 thinks Hasidim are a bizarre death cult. And even after October 7th, you had these people going, ceasefire now, like Israelis for Palestine, Israelis for a ceasefire.
Bunch of cowards, man.
The media is the disproportionately Jewish media is pushing a ceasefire because they don't have the unity that you say they do. That is the core of our disagreement.
I would just push back on that, and I'd say the media is not pushing the ceasefire. I think it's quite the opposite. The media is not covering all there's pro-Palestine protests
the media didn't even cover the capture of Gaza City 3 days ago. Gaza City was entirely conquered 3 days ago. The war is over.
I don't think that's true.
It is true.
I don't think that they conquered all of
Gaza City. It is true. Actually, I have a video on my Instagram in the center square of Gaza City. I'll say we, the Jews, we bulldozed it. We erected a 40-foot Israeli flag and did a tank dance around the flag in circles to celebrate our conquering of Gaza City. And I give a big shout out to all the Israeli realtors out there. Hit me up if you got something beachfront in Gaza, because I'm looking to move back home. you know, unlike these other three guys on the panel, I actually lived in the Gaza Strip. I lived in a small community called Shirat Hayam, and I was radically disengaged by the Israeli government, arrested, thrown out of my home, and our land was given to these fake nation called Palestine so that they could destroy everything there and launch endless war. That was in 2003, 2005, somewhere in there, 2005. And now it's time to go home. So I'm really looking forward to getting back to Shirat Hayam and seeing if my house is still there. If
I'm sure Nick is looking forward to you going back there too.
Jihadi graffiti park.
Well, you know, you have this sort of glib attitude about it, and you know, I know there's a rhetorical purpose to that, to say, oh, you know, we took Gaza, and I can't wait to get some beachfront property.
The Torah gives the commandment in every generation.
You're not going to trigger me with that
kind of stuff. Kibush al-haaretz is one of the.
So are we just going to interrupt each other? Or is it,
yeah,
are you a Jew and you can interrupt me because I'm a Gentile? Is that how that works?
Right, but let him. All right, I'm gonna Brian, if you can help me mute things. I was just trying to mute them real fast. We're not going to be talking over each other because we're not going to be doing that shit on this live stream. If you want to do another live stream, you can. But I understand you used to live in Gaza. I want to clarify, though, Nick, before you respond, was that your opening statement, Adam, or did you not get your opening statement yet?
We're so far from opening statements. We're like at minute marker 36. Let's go, bro.
All right. Because I want to give the chance to respond to it. So you brought up these statements, right? This is what I want to ask. Then this is kind of going in that. Does what is Israel, and does the West Bank and does Gaza belong to Israel? And is Israel more than even what we currently view it as? Does Israel expand into Egypt? Does it expand into Lebanon? Does it expand even further on Jordan? What is Israel, and how do you define it? And when are we going to be okay and say Israel exists and we define it as such? That's what I want to know. What is Israel? We can go ahead and start with
Israel is defined by the borders that are given in the book of the Deuteronomy in the Old Testament. There are clear outlined borders, which are pretty much the exact same shape of Israel now, with the exception of the West Bank. Now the West Bank is the last part because Gaza is now Jewish again, thank God. But the West Bank is the last remnant, and that's like the main core of the Jewish settlements. Most of those houses were built by Jews thousands of years ago. There's so many Jewish relics, there's so many Jewish graves that Palestinians just don't let Jews go to. But I think that this conversation is also very nuanced because it's not just about what is Israel, it's also what is Palestine. You can't have the conversation without the two, and then you have to bring in Jordan. So the river, the Jordan River, is the border between Israel, which is Jewish, and the country Jordan, which is actually the real Palestine.
All right. I mean, does anyone disagree or agree with that? I mean, I imagine you guys have a definition, because we're saying, I just want to clarify. The point is that Zionism is that we got to support Israel. But if we don't even know what Israel is, what the hell are we supporting? Is Israel an idea?
It's irrelevant. It's irrelevant what Israel is supposed to be. Like when I was 20 in college, I supported, Barack Obama's notion of they need to go back to the borders of 1967. And I remember I was talking to a Jew about it, and he was like, our brothers, our uncles, our fathers spilt blood for these borders. No one's going back on any borders. And I realized at that point, I'm not giving the Iroquois or the Algonquins or the Ho-Chunks back any of their land. We had a long war over that. That's my fucking land now. So the idea of giving back borders based on a philosophical argument is totally redundant. All that matters is what the borders are now. That's what I was saying about Texas and America earlier. The borders of 2023 are the only relevant thing. No matter how philosophically wrong that is, no matter how unethically that land was stolen, the borders that exist now are all that matters. And that's what Israel is.
Also, it's important to say that when people refer to the 1967 borders, they're really referring to the 1948 borders, because it was in 1967 that the Jews took the Jerusalem and what is the current map. The current map now is the 1967 borders. When they use this term colloquially, the 1967 borders, they want to go back before the War of 1967, when Israel was just fought colonial England for its independence, and then the Arab nations after that for its war of existential survival. So it's really important that we understand this, because there's like so many of these lies and misdirections by the Palestinian community about what those things are, especially genocide. And I want to get into genocide at some point in this debate, probably not right now, but understanding the 1967 borders are really the 1948 borders. It's going back to a time from when Jews won their independence until the 1967 war.
Fuentes?
Yeah, so I mean, to me, it's really an uninteresting question. What is Israel and what is Palestine? And here's why. Because the fundamental operative that matters for us is that Israel could not exist, would not exist without the support of the United States. And so, for example, what they're doing right now, they could not be doing without the security guarantee of the United States. This little incursion in Gaza, this prepared war that they have in Lebanon, their grand aim is to confront Iran and degrade their nuclear facilities. All of this is being done under the security umbrella of the United States. All of this is being done with the material and monetary support of the United States. And so, if Israel were having this war, I mean, I probably wouldn't care as much. I would care as much about the war in Niger, Niger versus Nigeria and everything else. But the problem is that Israel, as we know, has had the United States fight its enemies and fight its neighbors and adversaries for decades. We've been paying off Egypt and Jordan for decades. We fought Iraq, Syria, Libya on their behalf. And now we're doing the same thing here. And here's what matters in 2023. I agree, it is sort of pointless to talk about the 67 borders or the 48 borders. I mean, my Muslim friends are not going to love that, but I've never been like necessarily a super pro-Palestine guy. I think that Israel is committing humanitarian atrocities, but that's really outside the question of politics. And what matters right now is that what Israel is doing is angering the Muslim world. They're confronting Iran and its proxies in the region, and they're drawing the United States into this so that we will fight their wars on their behalf. Let's not pretend like it's just basically complete context denial to say this is about Israel and Palestine. This is about Israel and all of the Muslim world, and Israel dominating that entire map, which they could not do without the United States, which is something that is not in our interest. We're sandwiched right now between a losing war in Ukraine and a future losing war in Taiwan, and Israel is drawing us against our will into a conflagration in the Middle East. We're going to be fighting Hezbollah, the Houthis, which we just bombed tonight. We're going to be fighting Iran, all these other people. And it gets back to the original question. This is a Christian nation. This is America first. This is why we can't have Zionist Jews in power in America, because they're the ones that are getting America to fight all their wars that are not in favor of Gentiles, that are not in favor of Christians or Catholics. I mean, if Adam had it his way, Americans would be building the armaments and fighting the wars so that the Jewish Messiah could come back and destroy the Vatican. And that's not in our favor.
Yeah. I wouldn't assume that Adam disagrees with you. I don't know if he does. I know I don't disagree with you. I'm a total isolationist. The $3 billion we give to Israel annoys me, the $4 billion, whatever it is. It annoys a lot of Israelis, too. I've been to Israel, and I've talked to Israelis who go, we have a self-sufficient GDP. We don't need your money. I don't like the animosity.
They still take it
with your donation. So there's plenty of Israelis that don't want that money. And as far as fighting wars go, yeah, my worst fear is that Israel provokes Iran and we start this World War III shit. I don't even want them provoking Lebanon. But as far as what Israel's done so far to Palestine, I think it's been very kind. And if they were to stop tomorrow, then I would go, that's pretty fair. The amount of Palestinians that died in this war, the amount that were involved in Hamas, it's a very reasonable retaliation. And I think that's what happens when you kick Mike Tyson in the balls, you're going to get your ass kicked. Now, I don't want them to go further than this. But as far as where we are now, if we could just stop, please. I'm calling for a ceasefire, I guess. If we could just stop, please, at this, I go, that's reasonable. Like when I was over there, my biggest beef with Israel was how nice they are to everyone. Do you know how many fucking Arabs go to Tel Aviv for heart transplants and having tumors removed? Israel even treats terrorists. They treat terrorists and fucking sew them up. They have Muslims in their parliament. They have Muslims living in Israel. I was like, when I was there, I was like, you guys are way too nice to these fucking people. And this is a very controversial thing to say, but I would say this war so far has been pretty ethical 30,000 people for the population of Gaza is actually fairly reasonable.
It's actually only 1.5% of the population of the city of Gaza. But also, you have to understand there's 25,000 members of Hamas. So if you and Hamas has been almost virtually defeated on the ground in Gaza. So if you remove the 25,000, you're really looking at like 5 to 10,000 deaths. It's not even a percentage of the population. If you go into Russia or Syria or any of these other conflict zones, they demolish like 40% of the civilian population while trying to take a city. It's quite unbelievable how they have the audacity to label this a genocide.
Yeah, look at the percentage of Israeli civilians that were killed and the percentage of Palestinian civilians that were killed.
And just for context, like October 7th, 1,400 Jews were killed. And in relation to America, because there's only 15 million Jews in the whole world, 8 million in Israel. But if you consider the whole 15 million in the world, the way that Jews were impacted by October 7th, the population equivalency to America, it would be as if 47,000 Americans were killed in a single 6-hour period. It would blow the minds of Americans. If any country did that, America would destroy them. I mean, America killed 1 million civilians in Iraq because Afghanistan and 9/11. It's ludicrous to think that Israel's a genocidal nation because we literally surgically removed Hamas from the Gaza Strip.
That's not my argument, though. But that's not my. You guys are talking about civilian casualties.
And just to get to your point, Nick, I want to address your point.
Is this an infinite talking time for Gavin and Adam, or what?
Well, you know, when you have good ideas, you got to share them. But I want to address your point because
Nick's got to be able to talk.
We'll address the point. Let's go to Nick on this one.
Well, I just want to say something quickly, and then we got to get Vince in because Vince hasn't talked since the beginning. But I just want to say briefly, I mean, it's interesting because, I feel like I'm laying out these arguments, and we're hearing just arguments from the other side to other arguments that weren't made, because I didn't really say anything about the civilian casualties constituting a genocide or anything like that. As a matter of fact, I said really it's sort of a might makes right. And you know what? Israel's dominating the region from a strategic point of view. I mean, what they're doing is, it may be wicked, but it's smart. And from a military point of view, what I'm arguing, like to Gavin's point, Gavin said he's worried about World War III. Israel is deliberately drawing us into that against our will. We want a ceasefire because we recognize that that is what the Iranian axis is asking for, and we want to avoid this becoming a regional conflict. Israel wants it to become a regional conflict. That's why, I believe that is why they allowed October 7th to happen. I believe that is why they are currently threatening Hezbollah and striking deeper and deeper into Lebanese territory, and that's this whole situation with the Houthis, and I think the ultimate goal is Iran. So that's what they're doing. That's the problem. Again, that's why Jews are sort of the issue at the top of the elite society, because they're looking out for Israel, and what's good for Israel is blowing up Iran. That's not good for the United States. So for me, it's got nothing to do with casualties. I mean, like I said, I think there's a moral case to be made, but this is a political argument. But I want to. We got to get Vince in here. I feel like Adam and Gavin have gone a lot. I've gone a lot. We got to get Vince in.
All right, let's go, Vince. Drop the hammer. Bring up.
I was just going to respond to something Gavin said a while ago, and I just want to touch on this briefly before I move on to what you guys are talking about right now. But so left-wing Jews are totally in favor of progressive ideas, abortion, immigration, diversity, gun laws, until you criticize Israel. And just to go back to what Nick said about Ben Shapiro retweeting the ADL, retweeting Jonathan Greenblatt.
He's not a left-wing Jew.
You look at left-wing Jews like Amy Schumer and Sarah Silverman. You look at what's happening with the universities. And then you look at like right-wing Jews, conservative Jews, are all in favor of the conservative narratives like abortion, immigration, diversity, gun laws, all of the same things until you criticize Israel. And then you're canceled. Look at what has happened with Nick, for example. And so right-wing Jews are totally fine with sacrificing America and America's interest if it means protecting Israel. On his show, Ben Shapiro said that, you know, we might have to use nukes if America doesn't get involved in this war. And so, you know, you guys are talking about World War III. Like this is something that this is part of the long history of the relationship that we have had with Israel, which has been called our greatest ally in the Middle East. Time and time and time again, they have done things in the Middle East that we have told them or recommended that they don't do, which has completely destabilized the Middle East, has soured our relationships with Arab nations, and has led to the deaths of Americans, American civilians, American Marines. And so this is part of the problem, and that I have, and stuff that we go over on the show all the time. And I have a question for Adam King. Do you think, because I don't think that you completely answered this, but do you think that Israel, like if you were to wake up one day and you were able to dictate the borders of Israel, would you be in support of from river to river?
From the river to the sea, Israel will be free. No, everything that I want is the biblical lands that are outlined in the Torah. I don't want an inch more than what God decreed to Moses. That's irrelevant to me. But I do think, though, that there is such an antiquity of Jews in the Middle East outside of the land of Israel. For example, the Song of Solomon is actually a book of the real estate holdings of the crown of Judah. And he had 1,000 wives. He married the daughters in each place that of all the kings. In each place he had there was a massive Jewish contingency, like embassies almost. So it's important to know that the Jews have massive history inside of the Middle East. When Nick's talking about the Jews wanting to destabilize the Middle East, first of all, Israel's a sovereign nation, and just the reintroduction of Jews to the Middle East was a destabilization. What the Arabs and the Muslims want is an expansive caliphate that has no interruptions, where they can have the Mediterranean Sea and push their agenda directly into Europe. Now, as far as Israel taking foreign aid from America, I don't really like it when America gives foreign aid. In fact, I'm an America First patriot. I believe that other countries should pay America for its support, not the other way around.
Yes.
But in addition to that, it makes me very nervous when Biden rolls his boats up into the Middle East for several reasons. First and foremost, Israel is more than capable of protecting itself. It has fought multiple armies on multiple occasions at the same exact time. 1967, 1973, 1948, all were attacked by different nations at the same time, and Israel conquered all of them at once. Unlike what Nick thinks, Israel doesn't need America. In fact, America slows Israel down. In 2005, the Gaza disengagement is the reason why we're here. That was done by George Bush and Condoleezza Rice. That was an exclusive American plan. It's that America constantly puts its agenda on Israel, and its agenda is actually very bad for the Middle East. It's pro-Iran. And I know Gavin said that, and other people have stated that Israel is provoking Iran. It's actually the opposite. It's that Iran is not just provoking other nations, but Iran is provoking Israel and the rest of the world. And in order to truly understand the conflict, hold on 1 second.
Okay.
1 second. In order to truly understand the conflict in the Middle East, you have to understand the Sunni Shia conflict between Saudi Arabia and Iran. And there's no way to intellectually, honestly look at Israel without the broader picture of the geopolitical trends that are happening in Islam. Iran conquered the government in Yemen and installed the Houthis, which has done nothing but destabilize the region, in the Arab region, in the Gulf states. You know, Nick, I don't hear you talking about Iranian destabilization of the Middle East. It's almost like a singular attack on Jews, that Israel is the problem of the world. And Israel has its own sovereignty. It can make decisions without the need to check with the United States.
Well, if I could rebut that, I know Gavin was trying to jump in there, but since I was directly mentioned, the reason why is because the United States isn't holding an umbrella over Iran taking over the region, but we are doing that for Israel. And, you know, the thing about, it's so funny because I've debated many Jews about the subject of specifically foreign aid over the years. And you know what it is? They have so much pride. They hate taking money from the Goyim. They hate that they are dependent on the Goyim. And so they take the money. They need the money. They need our guns. They need our support. They do need us. And, you can say all you'd like, well, we don't need America. America slows us down. But, you just take a look at a guy like Ben Shapiro. I know you're not Ben, but, he's a good example of this. Years ago, he was asked at a Q&A, should we remove the foreign aid? And he said, well, it doesn't matter because we don't need America. Israel can defend herself, because they're so proud. They're such a proud people. But then when Hamas attacked on October 7th and this Iranian crescent pincer started to squeeze Israel, Shapiro and Mark Levin and all the other Zionists went on TV and said, if the United States doesn't give Israel what it wants, when it wants it, no questions asked, then we're going to nuke the whole region. We're going to use our nukes and everything. And that's because, of course, historically they can't. You had one miraculous victory without our support in 67 because he did a sneak attack on the Egyptian and Syrian Air Force.
What about
but
73?
In 48, no, that was 67.
I'm saying that miraculous wins were 48, 67,
and
73
was the airlift from America. You couldn't have won without the airlift from Nixon and Kissinger. And in 48, you couldn't have won without the smuggling from American Jews. We facilitated all the arms going to Israel during the ceasefire.
Those wars because God willed it so. Because God wants to bring home his children.
It wasn't because of American bought carriers in Lebanon.
1948,
right?
600,000 Jews starving in the Holocaust, who just came out of the Holocaust with barely having pistols, conquered the greatest empire at the time, England, won its independence, and then fought 3 armies. Just 600,000 Jews with barely any munitions whatsoever.
That's the Romans today.
From God. That's a miracle from God. In fact, in 1967 and in 1973, before the Jews went to war, we dug our own graves in Tel Aviv. There was empty graves when we returned from battle. We literally thought we were walking to our deaths, and it was going to be a noble death to die defending our desire to have our own homeland in our ancestral homeland. And we won. Nice. That wasn't because of America. That was because of God.
That's nice. Well, here's the thing, though. the thing is about from the ashes of the Holocaust, which was a hoax, by the way, but the United States is what protects Israel. So you said, why don't you talk about Iran? You're just singling out the poor, helpless state of Israel. The reason why I'm talking about Israel is because we have the security umbrella. You don't want the aid? Don't take the aid. You don't want the aircraft carriers there? Don't take the aircraft carriers there. But that is the situation. It's like Gavin said, what matters is what's happening now, not hypothetically, not if you woke up and you were the Moshiach or whatever. What matters is the situation now, which is they provoked this war. And by the way, you talk about how Israel can defend itself. It couldn't defend itself against a bunch of guys in hang gliders, paragliders, and, riding in on tricycles or miniature tricycles and clown cars. Hamas moved in there. This is supposed to be, 30,000 guys, and, they have no technology, but they breached the most surveilled, secured, armed border, maybe next to the DMZ in Korea. Of course, they knew about it for years. They saw them training for it. And they were late to respond, and probably Israel caused a lot of the casualties on October 7th, and that's because Netanyahu's hanging on to power, and he knew that this would be the perfect pretext to get Gaza and get Iran with the support of the United States. Without the United States, Israel would be in real trouble from Iran and Hezbollah and the Houthis and the Mobilization Front and all these other groups. And so, that's my problem with that arrangement. And I forget what the second part of the argument was. But
I'm inclined to agree with you that Israel allowed for that invasion. It doesn't make sense that a tractor that goes at 20 miles an hour was able to invade a place where they can tell if a squirrel farted 3 weeks ago. But we did that in wars. We did that with Pearl Harbor. I think we did that with 9/11. That's the history of war. Is
false flag events.
You allow some punk to punch you in the face for the first 2 rounds, and you go, see, and then you destroy him. And I have no opinion on that. It's the Bloods and the Crips. It's 2 gangs, and the Bloods had 10 times the power the Crips had. Like here in New York, there's barely any Crips. And the Crips decided to wage war on the Bloods, so the Bloods just annihilated them. And I'm actually fine with that. I don't give a fuck about the Bloods and the Crips. I'm glad West Bank is gone. I'm glad Gaza is gone. From the river to the sea, Israel shall be free. Amen. But I am an isolationist, and when I hear these hawk neocons like Ben Shapiro say things like, and these are people in our government, talking about how we need to strike Iran now and we need to do the first attack like it's in The Sopranos or something. That scares the shit out of me. And I think a lot of conservatives would agree with that. We want the war with Palestine and Israel to stay in their little octagon and finish it themselves. And then we don't want any more expansion. We don't want American lives spent. A lot of Zionists like myself agree with you guys on that. We don't want World War III. We don't want Iran involved. We want it to be over now, tonight. Israel wins, and we're good with that. And as far as the money goes, like we give about as much money to Jordan. I don't want any money going to anyone. But if we have to give money to other countries, I don't know, $1 billion. Like take the top 10. Give them all $1 billion and let's stop talking about it.
And a
lot of that money is actually to make sure that they keep the peace with Israel, to be honest. And you say that you're an isolationist and you don't want us to get involved in these things, but this is the history, right? They start shit in the Middle East, they get America involved, they get America to finish their war, and then all of a sudden we're in another war. There's a reason why you're hearing all of these neocons talk about Iran, is because this is the final boss. Right,
yeah,
we've destabilized and taken out the regimes of Afghanistan and Iraq and all these different countries, and Iran is the final boss, and they're going to use this as a pretext for something that they've wanted for a very long time. And I know you guys say like, oh, it's only 1% of the population, or it's only 20,000 people, which are just so happen to be mostly women and children, by the way. And so the question is like you want a biblical Israel. If it means another 1%, or if it means 50% of the population, is that worth your biblical Israel? You can be an isolationist, or you can say that you're an isolationist, but the problem is supporting what's happening right now and supporting what Israel has done throughout history is going to be counterintuitive to your to being an isolationist.
I want to point out one thing if I can.
Adam, I'm gonna come in here for a second. First of all, we're gonna transition in a second. I'll let you give your counterpoint, and we're gonna transition to another topic. We also have a surprise guest who's gonna be popping in a little bit to ask some questions and to change some things up. Before we talk about that, though, I do want to give a shout out to one of the sponsors of today's show, which is a company that believes in this debate, wanted to help make it possible, wants to continue to keep free speech, independent media alive. And I'm talking about the purgestore.com. This is an amazing store that not only has supplements and intake devices for your body that help you to fight disease, it can help and boost your immune system, but they have a new product out called the Parasite Cleanse. So basically what this is we have Adam on here. I don't think, Adam, you don't eat pork, do you, Adam?
No, I don't eat pork.
All right. And why don't you eat pork?
It's not kosher.
The only motherfucking pig that I eat is police.
Yeah, well, the only reason why I don't eat a lot of pork. I don't eat a lot of stuff. I'll eat bacon stuff. But the truth of the matter is that we do have parasites that enter into our body. They live inside of our gut and they end up defecating. They actually shit inside of our gut. They actually eat healthy tissue. They actually live and embed inside of your tissue. And there are many different complicated ways to get rid of parasites in your body. But now they've created a one-stop shop pill that can help rid your body of all these parasites that you take in from bad vegetables, bad meat. And right now you can get it at purgestore.com, promo code Elijah for 10% off. Parasites affect mood. Your mood and your personality are genuinely affected by what's in your gut. Just like, a lot of people in here, there's a lot of shit being spoken, and shit can change the mood. So understand that if you actually do not take care of your body, you might end up having issues with irritability, and some parasites cause cancer. So go to purgestore.com. That's PURGESTORE.com. Promo code Elijah for 10% off. Plus, if you check this out real quickly, you can also get other supplements, including Immune Protocol to help you to avoid getting sick this winter, organic elderberry, apple cider vinegar. I use that to help fight the drying of the scalp, which is really important if you're flaky. Check it out today, purgestore.com, promo code Elijah. This company supports this debate. They support your free speech, and they support you. Okay, taking it off the screen, I want to talk about something really important here, which is something that we didn't really get to touch on, which is number one, Is Israel genociding Palestine? Is what they're doing genocide? And I want to define this genuinely, because I know people debate that the population of Palestine has exponentially grown, that the majority of the population are under 30. In fact, a large majority are even under 20. They have a major boom. This is a inverted pyramid of what's happening in Western civilization. In Western civilization, they tell the woman to stop fucking their men, to take birth control, become crazy psycho bitches. Men not to get married, take the red pill, be really cool. How about this? Get married to a religious person. If you're Nick, make them Catholic, whatever you got to do, and make some babies and multiply and live your life before God. The Palestinians apparently got the memo before the West did. They're fucking, they're sucking, and they're creating babies, and they're growing. Now, Israel has responded to this death. A lot of people say that it was a false flag event. I happen to believe that myself. I'm going to stay neutral and say their counter response, we already had Gavin say, was optimal. It was equitable in the fact they've killed over 30,000 people, the majority of which being civilians. I want to clarify, the majority have been civilians. Now, the leadership of Hamas obviously was historically in Doha. It was in Qatar. Qatar has a very difficult relationship with the U.S., one of the largest military air bases. So it's really hard for the U.S. to sanction attacking Qatar. Now, of course, many of the leaders are already being attacked now, which means that it shows that Israel could have conducted assassinations. We don't think Mossad is working as well as it used to. The CIA, Mossad are getting sloppy. They're, Jackson Hinkle would be dead already if Mossad was working like it was in the 70s and 80s and whatever. If it was still working, he'd already be gone. Maybe Nick wouldn't be here too. But it looks like they have the ability to attack the leadership who are fleeing to Iran. And that's what they're doing now. After bombing huge swaths of residential buildings, which I'm going to give the caveat and end here and say, obviously, pro-Zionists would say, well, that is Hamas's fault. Hamas uses civilian buildings, civilian dwellings like schools and hospitals. You've probably already heard this, to not only store weapons, but like they say with the hospital in Gaza, there was a major tunnel network and they found 6 firearms or whatever it was. They're storing the stuff. So on the topic of genocide, and this idea of, is Israel sanctioned, is what they're doing equitable? I know Gavin touched on it, but I want to jump here with Gavin because he talked about it. Is Israel committing a genocide in Gaza? And if they are not, or if it's something different, please define it.
It's war. We lost 30 million Russians in World War II. It's horrific. War is hell. And that's why I was so alarmed when I saw Palestine taking the bait and committing those atrocities on October 7th. You got to understand, Palestinians are made for war. Like in Jordan, the Palestinians hate the Gazans. They hate them because they see them as like these savage dogs that need to die for their martyrdom. That's their role in life. They cannot negotiate. Bill Clinton gave Yasser Arafat an amazing deal, and he said, I can't accept this deal or I'll be killed, because these guys are built for martyrdom. So they got it. And the military over there makes sure that they're shooting from hospitals, they're shooting from churches, they're shooting from residences. So they set up these civilians to die. And by the way, I don't think it's a given that the majority were civilians. We just accept that. The war ended like yesterday, and we're already taking all this information like it's a fact. I'm not taking anything for granted from either side, by the way, with this war. But to punch Mike Tyson in the face and lose 30,000 people is a pretty good deal. And I've never had any respect for Palestine. I'm glad they're gone. Fuck them.
Amen. And I just want to touch on one point before you said your piece, Elijah. And Nick was talking about all this U.S. foreign aid that goes to Israel. It was a 10-year, $3 billion a year, $30 billion total, which I don't want, first of all, just to preface. But the 2 largest foreign aid packages that the U.S. ever gave, which was so destabilizing to the region, was a $150 billion lump sum by Barack Obama to Iran with a $1.7 billion cash payment that was flown in the middle of the night. And the second was an $86 billion military aid package that was given to the Taliban by Joe Biden. So
don't forget Ukraine. Don't forget the $100 billion to Ukraine.
So when we're talking about, I got a picture of Alex Jones. So when we're talking about, U.S. money going into the Middle East to destabilize the region, the U.S. money that goes to Israel doesn't destabilize the region. U.S. rampant military donations to Islamic jihadi regimes, and it doesn't do the Iranian people any favors. The Iranian people want to overthrow the mullahs, the dictatorial mullahs, you know, and what about the Iranian people?
I meant to say that earlier. That's what I interrupted you earlier to say. When you, it's deceiving to talk about Iran, because the Iranian people hate their mentor. They hate their tyrannical bosses. They want to overthrow the regime.
Yeah, and let's not
remember. People love Israel, by the way.
Yeah,
they don't want a nuclear war, obviously. So the Iranian people are think of them as North Koreans, like they're in a dictatorship.
And before the CIA overthrew the Shah in 1979, Israel and at the time it was Persia, not Iran, were best friends in the region. The Shah of Persia actually had an official state visit to Israel. The CIA in the Iran-Contra affair overthrew the Shah, the institution of the Shah, and brought about the mullahs, which these losers now call himself the Ayatollah, and he's really a pedophile. I mean, this guy goes around raping all sorts of children. It's insane. And we look to Iran like they're this innocent creature. They want to build nuclear weapons. They want to destabilize the region. And it's not just Israel. Iran wants to conquer Saudi Arabia much more than it wants to conquer Israel. It wants to win the Muslim holy war and defeat the Sunni. The Shia want to defeat the Sunni more than they want to defeat Israel. In fact, Saudi Arabia is like chomping at the bit to make peace with Israel. This war only set them back. And just recently, Saudi Arabia announced that after the war, they would like to resume their peace talks with Israel. And that has everything to do with Iran, because Saudi Arabia sees Israel as a stabilizing force in the region, not a destabilizing force like Fuentes likes to say.
Yeah, anyway, we know that Israel was
everyone's going to stop.
Go
ahead.
Just
want to say that reminded me, you mentioned raping kids, so we will get to the tunnels eventually. The chat is reminding us that we promise to talk about the tunnels later. But I will go to Fuentes and then to Vincent.
The Vatican tunnels?
I will go to Nick, and I will go to Vincent on this, and then if you guys on the pro-Zionist side could hold, and then we're going to switch the topic. So go ahead, Nick, and then Vincent, and then we're going to change the subject.
Well, the initial question was about the genocide, but I want to get into the claims about, I mean, it's just so amusing and laughable, the Iran and I mean, no offense, I don't say that to be an insult, but it's just completely dishonest. The 150 billion cash pallet to Iran, it's just like the 6 billion that Biden gave to Iran. The United States didn't give $150 billion when they negotiated the JCPOA under Obama, which is what Adam's referring to. Those were unfrozen funds. Those were Iranian monies that were frozen by the United States under the sanctions regime. We traded sanctions relief for limitations on their nuclear program. So to say that we gave them $150 billion. We didn't give them anything. We unfroze money that had been frozen under the sanctions regime.
And how's that working out, Nick?
Well, hang on. Let me finish. I'll let you say that disingenuous thing. I'm just correcting it. And then as far as the $87 billion to the Taliban, everybody understands we didn't give $87 billion to the Taliban. Joe Biden abandoned the equipment that was there. And I agree. I think that was a dumb thing. But we had been in there for 20 years. So are we going to wait another 2 years? I think if you wait any longer, it was just never going to happen. The money that we're giving to Israel is taxpayer money, okay? That's money that's taxed from American citizens, given to Israel. And you talk about the Memorandum of Understanding, that's the $3.8 billion over 10 years, which was negotiated, I think, in 2016. But that's not even the most of it. There are other forms of aid that Israel gets. Iron Dome isn't included in that $3.8 billion. I would also include the aid that we give to Egypt and Jordan. Vince pointed out Egypt and Jordan are historically the second and third highest recipients of American foreign aid. Those are payoffs. Egypt started receiving that level of foreign aid after they negotiated peace with Israel, first country to do so. Jordan became the third highest recipient of foreign aid in 93 or 94 after they normalized relations with Israel and became the second Muslim country to do so. So, I mean, really, it's the Memo of Understanding, plus Egypt, plus Jordan, plus the Iron Dome. I would also argue the Iraq War was a form of an in-kind subsidy. And there's other things, too, that aren't calculated. You can look it up and see what the numbers are, but it's much bigger than 3.8 per year. That's on the and you know, so to say, well, you single out Iran, and I said, well, or rather, you single out Israel, but don't talk about Iran. I said, well, Israel gets our support, Iran doesn't. You said, well, we gave Iran money, and it's like, no, we didn't. Okay, but that's that. On the genocide, I'm not really interested in, again, the genocide terminology. I think that that's like a United Nations definition. Suffice to say, Israel is not avoiding civilian casualties. This is what our government is saying. This is what the UN is saying. And it's true. Israel's a brutal army. And, you know, it's a large country full of children. You know, it's like half the population, high percentage of population's teenagers, or rather under the age of 17 or 16. And so these people that are being killed, a lot of them are children, a lot of them are civilians fleeing. And, you know, that's just not moral. That's just not a moral way to fight a war. And listen, I get it. Like, on some level, I get it. I think there's a mutual animosity. The Palestinians hate the Israelis. The Israelis hate the Palestinians. But it's pretty incredible that Israel claims to be this civilizing force. They say they're the Western world. They're an extension of the West. They're not. The West is Christian. And being Christian means that you see everyone as a child of God, even your enemies, even people that are not your co-religionists or not members of the same race. Christians don't prosecute wars like that, or at least they shouldn't. And what's interesting is that, you know, for decades, Jews like to say this. It's Judeo-Christian. I don't think Adam would say that, though. They'd say, you know, Israel's a beacon of Western civilization, a beacon of liberalism in the Middle East. Then, when Israel gets attacked and they got to take the gloves off and kill everybody, then they go and lecture Americans and say, you naive Westerners have no idea what it's like in the Middle East. It's bedlam, and we're fighting each other tooth and nail. And it's like, okay, fine. If you're both savages, then just say that. But you can't have it both ways. You can't have this most moral army. We're a beacon of civilization and a sea of barbarism, but also then when you get attacked, say, well, you just don't get it. You know, we got to kill them all. Okay, you know, fair enough. That's how it is in the East. That's how it is in Chechnya. That's how it is in Xinjiang. That's how it is in Gaza. It's how it is over there. Fine, you know, but I just don't like that hypocrisy.
Well, as far as the savage animals of the Middle East go, they are the most civilized of the hyenas. They warn targets that they're going to bomb. They avoid civilians, but the whole MO of Palestine is children in front, and this is the whole MO of Islam. They hate children. They fuck children. They fucking, during the Iranian Revolution, they gave these kids these little keys to go out on the front lines and fight and get killed on the front lines. And these plastic keys were going to get them into heaven. They weren't even nice keys, by the way. It's like they weren't even made of like copper. They were just these red plastic keys. And the Muslim mentality is death is good. Death is martyrdom. Death is a victory. And that's how Palestinians live. So when you're around these kind of fucking savages and you throw them a bone, I think you're being pretty ethical.
Can I ask something here real fast? So are you saying, because you just said that it's the Muslims are savages, the Jews are more civil, the Muslims are fucking kids.
But they're with savages. Like people go, Columbus cut out their tongues when he discovered the Caribbean. And it's like, yeah, that was the vocabulary of the fucking Aboriginals down there. They were cannibalizing each other. They begged Columbus to help them fight this other tribe because they were eating them. And then you were like, well, Columbus was so cruel to them. Yeah, that was their vocabulary. And Columbus was much more civil than the indigenous people. And Israel is much more civil than the Palestinians.
But I'm trying to say, are you saying then that the Jews do not also target civilians and do not also fuck kids according to Talmudic law? Like, are you rebuttaling that? So that's not something practiced? Because I read a Vice article, you might be familiar with the publication Vice from about a decade ago, talking about the problem. And of course, child rape is a problem if it's happening anywhere. Okay, we're not talking about age of consent laws. We're talking about prepubescent teens. We're talking about raping little kids. This is a whole. Everyone.
Yeah, it's not ingrained in the culture. Hasidim have a problem with inbreeding, and they have a retardation in their in that particular sect, group one, and yeah, that's going to lead to some pedophilia because they're basically a lot of them are basically retarded.
They say that the Vice article is saying that over 50% of Hasidic Jewish children,
that's retarded,
are
That's
sex.
That's
Jews.
retarded.
That's not a fact. But there is a problem with in the Hasidim with pedophilia, but I think it's because of low IQs and
But
inbreeding.
there's a problem in all religious groups in pedophilia. Look at the Vatican and the altar boys.
there
I
we
mean,
go.
that also is a major problem
But
of
there
pedophilia.
is
In,
zero
in
problem.
deeply
I would have to
religious,
say, though,
I'll
if we
tell
were
you
to
where it
think
comes
like-
from. In deeply religious societies where sexuality is suppressed or forced suppression, like in Orthodox Judaism, like in Catholicism, like in Islam and all sorts of religions, you will find pedophilia and sex crime because of the repression of sexuality. That has to be an individual choice of the participant in order for it not to become perverted and these people not to spiral out of control.
Nick,
So
I would
that is
love
one
to
of the
do-
big issues that causes pedophilia inside of all religious communities.
I would love to. Nick and I need to go to Israel. That's what needs to happen.
No,
here.
I'm gonna die, dude. Adam's
Yeah.
gonna be there waiting for me with 12 of his bear Jews from Inglorious Bastards. They're gonna fucking
No,
kill me.
they love arguing.
Nick, I'll
They
take you
love-
to Israel.
They love
No.
debate.
I'll take you to Israel. I'll even give you some protexia while you're there.
No, I listen. I would actually like to go because it's the Holy Land for, of course, Christians as well, because that's where Jesus walked. But
Yeah, well, I
would get killed there.
I
so.
went to Jesus' birthplace in Bethlehem. It was surrounded by fucking Muslims and the call to prayer. They needed a big iron fence to keep the Muslims out.
Brother,
wish
I don't
we
even know
could
if you guys
focus
can
on
make it
the
into
real
Australia.
problem.
I was gonna say,
here
I don't
with-
even know that. Real fast, I want to introduce Zerka is here as well. He just joined the streamer, and he has joined in the community. I just wanted to ask you, Zerka, on this question because everyone brushed over it. But Gavin pointed out, obviously, I'm not a fan. People say, "Are you anti-Semitic?" Well, I think if you're anti-Semitic, you're probably against all the Semites, which are both sides of the war, in my opinion. But he was saying these people are like savages. They kill civilians. They put their children out to war. They rape kids, and I don't think anyone's arguing about Afghani dancing boys and those things. But I'm assuming that's saying that the Jews are not Talmudically raping kids. Vice itself was saying it's a common practice. I didn't know if you had any opinion on that, about the different groups, if one's more savage than the other, or about pedophilia and their movements.
That one's for me, right?
Yeah.
I mean, let's just look at the nature of the Jew. They brought LGBT, porn,
God,
and
this
all this
motherfucker.
degeneracy to the West, and you're
Didn't
telling
you just
me
get
now,
your ass
silence,
kicked for
Goy!
talking shit?
Silence, Goy!
Hey, hold
Now, check it
on.
out.
Ugh.
They
Low
bring
IQ,
all this
cool.
degeneracy,
Let him cook.
and now you're saying it's just a big leap that they're also pedos. Give me a break. Like, this is what they're known for. They got kicked out of 109 fucking countries.
Who invited?
Oh
these
yeah. By
people?
the way,
this guy doing
on
here?
that, I just wanted to. So now that we're on the topic of religion, and that Zerka just mentioned that, I want to ask Adam King something. He talked about being kicked out of 109 countries. You said on a recent interview that the reason that they were kicked out of so many countries was because of Christian influence. Can you expand on that?
Catholics specifically. The Catholics have been
Catholics,
very
got it.
anti-Jewish from the inception of
Yeah.
Catholicism. It's
I
really
wonder if that's why Catholic
really
priests
nice
are
saying
represented
Catholic.
in the way that they're represented in Hollywood movies. Kind of interesting, isn't it?
I'll tell you, throughout history, the Catholics have been the number one progenitors of Jewish massacre. And they weren't really, it was really the book burnings that they were after. They were trying to destroy the Torah, and the Jews are what stood in the way. It's very interesting.
Rabbis bite
Catholicism
penis
itself,
flesh.
Catholicism
Your rabbi bit
itself
penis
is
flesh,
very
bro.
much rooted in Judaism, actually. Originally, until Nicene, there was so many more gospels than just Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. But I don't know if you want, guys, Elijah, I don't know if you want to go down this path yet. I want you to kind of steer the conversation because we're kind of going in like a million directions since we brought Zerka onto the thing.
I mean, it's been a couple
You've been
minutes.
interrupting more than anyone.
Yeah, that was a dumb move. Can
Yeah,
we
yeah,
change
well,
the subject entirely?
You know
and-
what I find funny? The two guys who've been to Israel are shilling for Israel. Isn't that funny?
Zerka,
weird.
you're just like a shit stirrer.
Here's an honest question. Does Gavin, you used to be based and used to be a white man. What happened? Does Gavin and the fucking Goy, does Gavin and the Goy guy, are you guys funded by Jews? Just give a yes or no.
Yes.
Bro, I am a Jew. All of my money that I make for myself, I fund myself, dude. I'm self-funding.
The same guy as
so yeah,
Tom
I'm funded
Robinson?
by a Jew. I'm funded by Adam King, the Jew.
Yeah, you look like a Jew.
Zerka, I gotta tell you, man, I can't believe that you I really used to like you until I saw you got your ass kicked by that dude.
Yeah,
man.
yeah. That nose don't lie.
That was so embarrassing.
That nose don't lie. You're definitely a Jew.
I am a Jew.
All right, but hey, Gavin, what do you think?
What about Gavin though? Gavin, are you 100% Caucasian?
Yes.
So what happened to you, Gavin?
Up on the subject is I don't like my fellow Caucasians absolving themselves of their ethnomasochism and blaming it 100% on Jews. There definitely is a percentage with these fuckers.
Wait, what's the percentage?
That's a good question.
That's the 6 million people question.
I would say 30%. 30% of your self-hatred could be put on these people, but who aren't Jewish, by the way. They're just elites. Like, they're white elites. This is the thing. We are at this war with Jews because they're overrepresented in the group of elite whites. They're overrepresented in chess. They're overrepresented in Nobel Peace Prize winners. They're overrepresented in medicine. That last one is the Achilles heel of anti-Semitism. Why are they overrepresented in medicine? Because of nepotism? You can't be nepotistic about doing brain surgery. You either are good at it or not. Yeah, that's like saying there's nepotism in the MLB. You either throw a fastball at 110 miles an hour or not. You can't get your cousin in on that. So they are elite whites. And when they do bad, they do elite bad, like really bad. When they do good, they do elite good. My daughter was born at Beth Israel Hospital in the East Village. There's no Muslim hospitals around there she could have been born in. And again, as I said earlier,
you're saying they're shapeshifters, Gavin?
Shut the fuck up.
Why is Zerka even here? Didn't he lose his relevance like a month ago?
Gavin, grab your two pieces of silver.
Okay,
grab your shekels. Get your shekels, Gavin.
This fucking clown.
Can I ask Adam? I want to ask Adam King a question because he
invited like the internet.
Vincent, what were you saying?
I was just going to say, Adam did not really answer my question. Do you think that the Jews were kicked out of so many countries because of Christian influence? This is what you said in that interview. You said it was because of Christian influence.
Catholic influence, not Christian.
Catholic. So you think that they were kicked out of so many countries because of Catholic influence?
Well, there was so many different reasons. I mean, we're talking about a 2,000-year history. There was more than just Catholic influence. For starters, like Spanish Inquisition, Catholic influence. Adolf Hitler was not Catholic influence, although the Catholics seemed to be chomping at the bit to support everything that he did. They were like wetting their pants over it. So there were places where the Catholics had the lead, and there were places where they didn't. But in every situation where Jews were being killed, the Pope was trying to take selfies in front of dead Jewish bodies. I mean, that's just how it always has been.
All right, I'm going to stop everyone here for a second. We're going to switch the topic. I want to steer this back to an intellectual debate, and I find this to be very important.
Did Zerka just zig Heil? What a fucking douchebag. Zerka, you are the biggest ever. You have no relevance anymore. Where's HS Tiki Talkie, man? Can we see a repeat of that ass kicking?
Yeah, all right. Let me get you guys all stopped for a second. I think he just zig Heiled. All right, I'm going to pursue this back intellectually because I want to bring this in a good direction. I need to switch it to a relevant topic, which is the secret Jew tunnels of New York, which sounds anti-Semitic, just saying that, but this is relevant to the topic. Okay, so if people don't have a background on this, very briefly, there was a tunnel system discovered that led back to a Jewish synagogue. This is a particular sect of Judaism, and as weird as this sounds, there were Jews crawling out of storm drains, and it raised a lot of questions. At first, they began to say we were weird for asking questions. The next day, they blamed rambunctious teens. And this morning, the New York Post blamed illegal immigrants. I am not lying. They said illegal immigrants dug the tunnels underneath the synagogue. And to put this plainly, tunnels are not weird. There are tunnels under lots of cities. The fact that these tunnels are from the synagogue, no one can seem to agree what they were for, but no one also wants to talk about it. Major players are avoiding it, which makes me want to talk about it. And I want to go straight to start with Nick on this one. All right, we have the tunnels here. Are these tunnels weird? Should we just move on from this? This is a stupid fucking question. Should we just let Zerka, Sigheil, and Gavin call him or is this a deeper discussion here on what the fuck is going on underneath this Shabbat synagogue and what is the purpose of these tunnels? I kind of want to get your idea of what you think is going on here, Nick.
Well, obviously they're up to no good because it's hidden. And I think that's a fair assumption. There have been various explanations given. The first explanation was that they were hiding from COVID. And then even the Crown Heights website updated, because they initially suggested that, they updated the story and said the timeline doesn't add up. That's not why they dug it.
No,
then
there was the future risk of COVID.
Yeah, I don't know how plausible that is, though. They then said it was a renovation or that they were expanding the synagogue, but again, or rather the 770 building. But again, why would you hide the dirt? Why would you hide the dirt that you're displacing? It seems
there's no evidence of that. This is all so new. We're talking about something that happened 2 days ago, and we're all experts on the subject. We don't know
pictures of the dirt that is hidden in another chamber.
Okay, but we don't know who put the dirt there. It could have been illegals.
Okay, come on. Yeah. Come on now. It's 770 Chabad World Headquarters.
This is the thing, Gavin. It's like, why?
To do any hard labor ever.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sure they hired illegals to do it. I'm sure they hired illegals to pick up the shovels, but they were the masterminds. And look, here's the thing. I mean, we can speculate what exactly the tunnels were for. I think it's clearly nefarious because it was hidden. When people hide things when they're doing something wrong. Now, it's plausible that they were trying to evade a zoning thing. It was a dispute between these Israeli Messianic Chabad Jews and the community that runs the synagogue. That's really besides the point. The point that I made about this, what was interesting, is that the story was reported, and then everybody saw it and made jokes about it, and they made all kinds of insinuations about it. And then the Jews got together and said, we're not going to talk about it anymore, and shame on everybody for talking about it. There was an op-ed on the website that initially reported it, the Crown Heights website, and it was written by a Jew who was not a Chabad Jew, and he said, well, shame on us for reporting it to the Gentiles, and shame on the Jews for laughing or celebrating that Jews are being arrested by the police. Where is our sense of loving our fellow Jew? Is there no Jewish values? And it gets back to my sort of the big thesis of this whole debate. I mean, we could get back and forth into the weeds and the minutia of these things, but the fundamental thing, which hasn't been disputed, is that they are a nation, they are race loyal, they look out for each other, and this is baked into the cake. In the Talmud, it's baked into the cake in the Zohar, it's baked into the cake that they see the Gentiles as other, as excluded, as spiritually deficient or spiritually not able to reach the same level. And so they think that they're here in this country as their own thing. And, if they were leaving everybody alone, maybe that would be fine. But they're very powerful, and they have an audience internationally, particularly the Chabad Jews with Milei, who was just elected in Argentina. Where did he travel after he was elected? Traditionally, the president of Argentina actually travels to Brazil for their first foreign visit. Many people don't know this. Milei traveled to Brooklyn to visit the Chabad World Headquarters in 770 because his rabbi is a Chabad Jew. He then went to Israel. And of course, the Chabad Jews have an audience with Putin, with Netanyahu, with Biden. They were in the White House on calls with Trump. And of course, Kushner is and supports, and his family supports, the Chabad community as well. And so there's something here that doesn't work, which is the Chabad Jews get together and say, we look out for each other. We don't tattle on each other to the cops. We don't report our dirty business to the Gentiles. They're also extremely powerful in Gentile society. You can't have it both ways. You either are in Gentile society and you're going to be among us and you're going to be with us, or if you're going to be exclusive like that, then you can't be influencing our society. It's not good for us. And there's a word for that. If there's an organism that attaches itself to you, typically smaller, and they're sort of benefiting, you can say that, but by definition, it's a symbiotic relationship. And you can say, my gosh, and you can, throw up your arms, but it's what it is. And you said it yourself. I watched your interview. You said, and earlier in this debate, you said, well, America's great because our Constitution. You omitted the part, which I saw a couple days ago. You said, Well, because freedom is a precondition for the Jewish Moshiach to arrive, because freedom allows, or rather Hasidic Kabbalists like you to bring about the Messiah who is going to deliver a vengeance on the Catholic Church. So, like, you know, and you omitted that part. So it's not, oh my gosh,
let's talk
you're
about
not
the real.
American, you're Jewish.
Listen, since we got brought up with the tunnel subject, let's talk about the real tunnels. And that's the Vatican tunnels, Nick.
There it is.
What's underneath the Vatican tunnels is all the Jewish books and all the Jewish artifacts that have been stolen from the Jews. Why should I sit here and honor your stupid idea that the Vaticans have no amends to make to the Jews? You have all of our possessions.
I can't believe people want to talk about the tunnels so much. The tunnels.
Wait, Gavin, why'd you cut him off?
Hang on. He was just in the middle of something. Go ahead, Adam King.
It's like, you know, first of all, like the Arc de Triomphe, it has pictures of all the things that the Romans carried off with it into and buried under the tomb of Saint Peter, which is the Vatican. The Vatican, which is like the most unchristian thing in the entire Christian world. And I'm happy to go do a deep dive on Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. I mean, Matthew and Mark didn't even know Jesus. Luke and John, one of them's Jewish, one of them's not. But for some reason, the Catholics forced this entire doctrine on the Jewish people that if we didn't convert, we're going to be killed and our books are going to be taken from us. So you guys are so up in arms about these. It was a zoning thing. They wanted to expand the tunnels. The Lubavitcher Rebbe said
expand the tunnels.
The Lubavitcher Rebbe said before he died that he wanted to expand the base midrash, not the tunnels. And so this group of like young Israeli boys took over an abandoned mikveh, dug out underneath it, broke the wall, and when they broke the wall, the Lubavitchers called the police and arrested these boys.
Oh yeah.
It's the end of story. But the real issue is not about these tunnels. Let's talk about what's underneath the Vatican. Let's talk about the real crimes that have been committed against the Jewish people. And it's not just the Jewish people, because the Vatican doesn't just sit on the treasure trove of the Jewish antiquity, but every single nation that Rome conquered. In fact,
Adam,
there are so many nations that exist in the...
I'm asking you a real question because I don't mind talking. No, I don't mind. I just want to know, why are we focusing on what's going on in the Vatican than just answering the question?
Because he hates Christians and he hates Christianity.
No, I don't hate Christians, but I do think
I
do think that Catholics have a little bit of a twisted doctrine.
Well, you actually said Christianity is just a bunch of people terrified as hell. You actually said that early Christians
they're terrified
are evil people.
of hell. Actually, hell. Thank you for bringing
terrified
that up.
As
hell is a Jewish concept, but in Judaism, you only the longest sentence in hell is 11 months. This concept of eternal hell or eternal heaven, you know, when Jesus came around, Judaism believes in reincarnation. So all of a sudden Jesus comes and now reincarnation's not a thing anymore. And oh yeah, hell's different too, and heaven's different too. And but like you have to accept this, even though it's completely different than what Moses taught you. But this is the new.
Was that in your Talmud? Did you get that from the Talmud?
This motherfucker. I'm not even gonna address your.
No, I just want to go back to the whole like the totally watering this whole tunnel thing down. Like you have a lot of people that are saying that it was for COVID, but that, you know, the tunnels were dug 6 months ago. You have a lot of people that are saying that it was well, okay, not just you, but there's a lot of people that are saying that are like that are saying this on Twitter and online. And you just said that it was just a couple of unruly teens that were digging the tunnels underneath. And then when the elders found out, they called the police.
Know that I
hold on a second. Hold on. One second.
What if you heard that Hell's Angels had tunnels under their club? You'd go, yeah, I figured. The fucking tunnels.
No, but hold on.
This entire debate.
Okay.
It ruins this entire debate.
No, I know. I just want to mention this. I just want to mention this one point about that. So like, and then they say, well, they hired illegals. Well, it's like
that's way more interesting.
Well, hold on a second here. So I have a hard time believing that these elders that are in this building all the time didn't hear 26 illegal Mexicans digging under their floorboards. Okay, we can move on for that. We can come back to that. I don't care. We can come back. I want to stay on this topic of how much you hate Christianity.
What?
I want to stay on this topic of how much Adam hates Christianity,
valid.
I don't hate
specifically
Christianity
Catholics,
at all. That's the
specifically
stupidest thing I've
Catholicism.
ever heard.
Okay.
I'm the one begging us to talk about Jesus. Let's go.
I want to talk about Jewish overrepresentation in media. That's interesting.
Okay, okay, stop here for a second. Everyone's muted for a second. I don't know why. I think I muted you for a second, but I want, if we're gonna go in this direction, we have 3 places to go, but I need to keep it very simple here. Okay, Adam is cooking, and we'll get to Adam. We're gonna give Adam here. Adam was going on about the Vatican and about Christianity, and it seemed like Nick was fairly interested in that. And if everyone's okay with that, we'll go ahead and throw back to Adam. Adam, go ahead and explain your thoughts on this. Finish your thoughts up on the Vatican. Continue on about Christianity, and then we'll go, and then we'll switch the topic after we're done discussing Catholicism and deflecting away from the New York tunnels. I'm kind of fucking pissed that we can't ever just – I've tried to talk to Jews about the tunnels. I'm trying to be neutral here, and it always turns into talking about the Vatican. Fucking let's go. Let's talk about the Vatican.
Tunnels are retarded, Elijah. What do you think? You think that there's child sex trafficking in a 20-foot tunnel?
Yes.
Yeah, I think I think
do.
they rape kids.
All right, put it this way. If it turns
That's the
out
most retarded thing you've ever said.
If it turns out that there's sex trafficking going on there, I'm joining your guys' team on
Wait,
this.
wait,
I
wait,
don't
wait,
even give
wait,
a
wait,
shit. I'm
wait.
100%.
Yeah, we don't want you.
anti-sex
Hold on.
trafficking. There's
You
no
want to
sex
think
trafficking.
that
It's
the
such a
tunnels are-
Well, that's
such
well, then that
a nothing burger.
Totally separate from the. You would be totally separate from the Hasidic rabbis then, because anytime anyone tried to speak out against the sexual abuse that was happening to children within the Hasidic community in Brooklyn, they were excommunicated from.
I'm a big supporter of an organization called Jewish Crime Watch. Big shout out to Jewish Crime
not
Watch.
low IQ.
Big shout out to Jewish Crime Watch. It's an organization dedicated to purging all Jewish society of pedophilia. And I'm a big supporter of Jewish Crime Watch and everything that they do. They're an amazing organization.
You should start with the
And I pray
rabbi
for a
that
day
bites
when-
the
I pray
penis.
for a day when
The circumcising rabbi. He bites and sucks the blood of a penis.
Hold up. Okay, yeah, shut the fuck up, everyone. For a second.
And those are the
Just stop. I got to keep it neutral here. I didn't say that I think or I believe or I know there was sex trafficking happening in those tunnels below Chabad synagogue. I have no idea what was going on. I saw soiled mattress with blood. I saw the guy tell me we all have bloody mattresses. Look at your covers.
You saw a dirty mattress.
Wait,
You're not
wait,
gonna have a nice mattress in a tunnel, retard.
Correct. You're also not going to have a fucking blood stain. So my question was, and this is what I want to say.
Fuckhead.
It was a Jewish sewer layer where they rape kids.
Because I have a fuckhead, but I will say this. I'm not making any claims. Even if I thought something, I'm not making any claims about the tunnels. I have zero claims to make about those tunnels. I don't know anything actually because I'm not from New York.
Right. So why are we talking about it?
Because I want to know that because
it's a tunnel. Imagine a tunnel under a Hell's Angels clubhouse.
Yeah, but Hell's Angels, Elijah.
Gavin, when I ask the fucking question to people and I say this, if I ask you, why the fuck do you like pizza? And they said, why do you want to know if I like pizza? It's like, why the fuck do I got to ask you if you like pizza? Be in New York about it. I just want to know if you like it. And then they tell me why. And I'm like, dude, just answer the fucking question. So with the tunnels,
I like pizza.
People, it was
I
nothing.
think the tunnels are cool.
Yes, exactly.
Is pizza a code word or something?
No.
All right, so then let me bring it. We don't want to talk about this right now. I mean, we can come back to this. Let me bring this part up. Adam King.
Vincent, I'll get to you. I'm saying
Okay.
I just worked out the tunnels because this is just like 9/11 or a lot of things. I find it suspicious that when I ask the damn questions to people, some of my friends who are Jewish, some who are not Jewish, they get defensive and they don't want to talk about it. And that just raises alarms for me. That's it. That's all I want to talk about it for because no one else will talk about it with me. This is my show. Let's talk about it. We're on Gavin's Network, Censor.tv. We're really appreciative. But Vincent, go ahead. Let's talk about the tunnels and then we'll change.
Of course, they don't want to talk about Jews literally crawling out of the sewers by the dozens in New York City. Of course, Jewish people don't want to talk about it. And coincidentally, mainstream conservatives, a lot of mainstream conservatives said absolutely nothing about this, even though this was like a really hot topic for a couple of days. I want to bring it back to this. Adam King, and his comments on Christianity, specifically his comments on Catholicism. He says that the Catholic Church in every generation has been so complicit in Jew hatred. There's always been in Europe this hatred of Jews because of Christian influence. He says that Jews were kicked out of 100. And I want to ask you this. Do you honestly think that Jews were kicked out of so many countries because of Christian influence and not because of the usury, taking over the financial, taking over the media, pushing sexual degeneracy, taking over basically everything,
Poisoning the
and
wells.
destroying the country. Right. Yeah.
Well,
do you honestly think it was because of Christian influence, specifically Catholicism, that they were kicked out of so many countries? Not
Do you see
because
how
of
this
all of the
is a
shit
more
that they did.
elevated discussion than tunnels. Like this is that question is an intellectual question that is highbrow. The fucking tunnels are gay and boring loser meme shit.
But
That
Gavin,
question
Hell's
is an
Angels are
interesting
not
question.
known for sacrificing kids for thousands
Listen,
of years.
I will say this: it is
What the fuck are you
interesting.
talking
Get him out of here. I don't
Okay,
want him
listen.
here.
It is interesting now
go
that this
on off,
keeps coming
go
back
fuck
to
off and do a
tunnels.
line of coke or something,
Hold on,
man.
hold
That's
on a
all you
second.
like doing
Hold
anyway.
on. Now that this keeps coming back to the tunnels, I will say it is interesting that there was a court document that people are publishing on Twitter that I confirmed is actually real, that talked about sex abuse cases in the mikvah, the ritual bathhouse, that the Daily Mail, when they reported on this story, said they were interested in linking this mikvah to the main building. I will say that is interesting.
Okay,
I also think the Vice News article is
if that
interesting.
comes out as a thing, then by all means, that all of a sudden becomes a very
It already did come out.
intellectual discussion.
Yeah.
No. If there is a link, if it is verifiably linked, then I do want to talk about that.
Well,
But
they
as
said
of
the
right now,
Daily Mail reported
today,
on it.
It is retarded rat conjecture, and it's embarrassing. But get back to your original question about being expelled from countries. That's high IQ shit.
Can we go there? Let's go
Adam
there.
King, do you think that Jews were expelled from so many countries because of Christian influence,
Not just Christian influence,
instead of
also
all of
Muslim
the
influence,
things that they have done?
also Muslim influence, Muslim and Christian influence. Yeah, I mean, like the other two monotheistic religions that derive its creation from Judaism is responsible for the vast amount of Jewish diasporic claims. Yes, I don't know where you get this 109 countries thing. I never.
No,
heard
I'm
that
just saying.
before. It's a lot of countries. Like there was a few major ones. Spanish Inquisition. Poland was the third of the Jewry of Poland was wiped out over in one night in massive massacres. My family came to America shortly after the Civil War. We're called Kharkovian Jews. There was a horrible, horrible massacre that took place in Ukraine that brought my family to America and also to Lithuania at the same time. There was so many of these things. Jews have not even been allowed to be Jewish. There's so many laws. Have you guys ever seen those fur hats that the Hasidic people wear?
Yeah.
People don't know this, but the reason that is a beautiful custom. And the reason is because the Cossacks required that Jews wear the tail of an animal to distinguish them from the Gentiles. So we turned them into beautiful crowns. And that's where that culture comes from. Minus the expulsion, the suffrage that Jews had when we weren't being expelled from countries, and it's not indigenous to Catholicism and Catholic societies or Christian societies, but the Muslims put us in a demi status where we had special taxes just because we were Jewish. We had to pay tax just because we were a Jew. When you go into diasporic Europe, you see all sorts of different things where, like, before a Jew can marry a wife, she has to sleep she has to have sex with the local parish, or not parish, the government official. So in the Hasidic communities, women had a culture of shaving their head bald so they would look ugly. Jews uglified themselves so that they wouldn't get raped.
Oh, is that why?
Murder, violence, oppression.
Yeah.
All these things happened at the behests of non-Jewish society, and we weren't integrating then. Jewish integration into secular non-Jewish society is a very relative thing. It's only started in like the last 100 years or so, less than 100 years, where Jews have actively been trying to get into other societies. We were pushed away. We were not allowed to participate in European society whatsoever.
And you say that's because of Christian influence, though.
Yeah,
but
you
not
yeah,
because of
you
anything
guys
else.
made a religion where we killed your God.
All right, guys.
So if you were to take away one religion, all right, sorry, go ahead, Elijah.
I know, Vince, I know you're cooking stuff. I just want to go to Nick. We haven't heard from him in about 15 minutes, and I want to hear your take on this. Thank you.
Yeah, so I just think it's interesting. The reason I wanted to dwell a little bit on this Vatican comparison the Jewish tunnels were brought up, and then Adam retorted and said, well, let's talk about the Vatican tunnels and how they stole our holy books and they stole everybody's stuff. And what's interesting, I know that's not a flattering impersonation, but what's amusing is that at the beginning of the debate, Gavin said, well, you've got, 4 different kinds of Jews, and on the very far left, you got these guys that really even aren't Jews. Then you got these Hasidic Jews, and they really do their own thing, and they don't even think about anybody else. But what's interesting is Adam is on band.video. He's on InfoWars Network, and he's got an American flag behind him, and he talks about these conservative issues, and he loves the Constitution. But did you notice that when it comes to the Jewish people, he sounds like Black Lives Matter? He starts talking about reparations and colonialism and oppression and intolerance and genocide, and all of a sudden, we're hearing the same kind of notes. It's like, well, this fiction that the Vatican wouldn't have to give the Jews back all their stuff and all the other conquered people too. And like,
you think we should just give those to you?
Well, hold on.
You think that they're yours now?
And you can't even help yourself. This is the mindset.
I'm asking you. My question
is the
to you,
No, to the victors go the spoils.
The
also, we're Christians, so silence when a Christian is talking. The real people of God are
speaking. You're not even really a Christian.
You will listen, boy.
You're not even really a Christian, Nick. You're a fake Christian.
Silence, Esau. The chosen the chosen Catholics are talking. No, I'm just messing
This
with
is
you a
why
little
it's important that we judge you guys.
Who's we and who's us?
The Jews.
There we go.
You bring about your own
judgment. That sounds
judgment.
like dual loyalty right here.
That's such it's a delicious irony. It's a feast of irony here. But this is the mindset of even, well, I would say particularly religious Jews. I mean, these are the Pharisees. The Jews today, the religious Jews, are the Pharisaical Jews that did kill Christ. And he says, well, you invented a religion where you killed your God so you could hate us or something and prevent us from giving the world the Kabbalah, where you believe in reincarnation and golem and stuff like that. But this is the mindset. We are not co-religionists. There's no such thing as Judeo-Christian. There's no affinity. There is
Judeo-Christian. There's not Judeo-Catholic, but there is Judeo-Christian.
I'm glad you said that, actually, because you're right. Protestants are basically Jews because they're your pawns. They're the ones that support Israel. They're the ones that shell out the money for you guys.
About the early Christians.
That's why Jews did Vatican II.
Let's talk about Jesus and let's talk about the early Christians.
I'm not interested in what Kabbalistic Jews have to say about Jesus.
This concept with you.
Yeah. We should start at the synagogue of Satan. If we want to
Zerka,
start,
don't you have like a
synagogue of Satan
or something? You're the gayest. Why are you here? Why are you even here?
What is this?
Are you here because Vince and Nick need some shit stir to back them up? Can they handle their own argument?
I'm here for you. I'm here for you, dude.
All right.
Listen, we don't want his support. We don't want Zerka's support. We'll take it anyway.
Yeah.
We do. We can defend ourselves.
They can defend themselves.
Yeah.
Elijah.
Let me ask you, Adam. I want to hear this though with Gavin. Gavin, because we have a couple more secret guests to drop in. Gavin is going to make the executive decision. Do you think Zerka should stay, or should we let Zerka plug himself?
He shouldn't just leave this chat. He should leave this earth. He fucking sucks. Anyone with hand tattoos is a retard.
And HS Tiki Talking beat his ass in public.
Gavin,
doing right now.
Started the fight.
Gavin, the last time you were relevant was when you debated Destiny.
Like
this guy
now you sound like Destiny.
We're giving him relevance right now.
I don't know who
Gavin, do you
invited
think
him.
they're
I don't
going to
know why.
unban you if
we
you
were all being
chilled for
pretty
them
civil
long enough?
before he arrived. And
Adam, I just wanted, I came here to say, Adam, you look like God's chosen
inviting
people.
him, Elijah.
You really do.
All right. Shut the fuck up. All right. At this point, it's like, it doesn't even matter if you're a fucking Jew or you're a fucking goyim. Everyone's being fucking annoying. We're gonna go ahead and kick Zerka from the conversation. So plug yourself. We're gonna give you a chance to plug yourself.
Hold up, Elijah. Why not just mute me?
Wait. He's like the king of all blacks.
Why not just mute me, Elijah? I'm watching anyway.
I know because it's my stream, and I want to bring you on for a moment, but I want to get back to the conversation. And I want to get back. So I'm going to give you a last word, Zerka. I do. I want to give you respect. I respect you a lot. I think you do good work. So I want to say to you, as a fellow streamer, people know that I'm very neutral on this stuff. Give us your last word, plug yourself, and then we're going to say goodbye, and we'll see you at the next debate.
Yeah. I'm just here to say that Jews are God's hated people, and Jesus is king.
All right, where can people find you?
Tiki-talkie, watch the video of this fool getting his ass beat, acting like
you're losing the debate, bud. You're losing the debate. It's not a good look for you.
You were on meth when you did that. Get out of here, man. Go become your. Once
go
you
get
leave
raped
this
by a
stage, you're
rabbi.
going
Go
back
get
to
your
irrelevant.
foreskin bit off by a
Before you
rabbi.
came here
And you know
tonight,
what's
you were
funny,
irrelevant,
Elijah?
and then when
That's
you
the
leave, you're
good
gonna be
guys.
irrelevant
That's
again.
the last thing I want to say is the good Jews bite the baby's penis skin off, and the bad
guy's
ones are in
wearing a
tunnels
Masonic hat
sacrificing
talking about
shit to their
Catholic
big nose. Look at this guy's nose. That's a tunnel in itself.
Wow. All right. All right, we're back.
Can we get back to some
I was like, what
civility,
the
please?
heck?
We have
What
a,
happened
Can I
there?
just take a total 90-degree turn here?
Yes,
yeah.
go ahead.
I want to like redo an opening statement. I deny what Nick is saying about how they all disagree with each other until there's an October 7th, and then they all come together. And I've had this argument with Nick for 100 years. That this bitch, the group 4, was never supporting retaliation. Yes, Ben Shapiro, who's Orthodox, by the way. Ben Shapiro is a fucking psychotic neocon warhawk who wanted to blow up Iran the next day. But generally, these people are Bolsheviks. They're Satanists. They are atheists. And they are elite white people more than they're Jews. They don't have – I'm denying the allegiance here. And I'm
Which
saying
group would you put Jonathan Greenblatt in? Which section?
Her section.
Here.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
so
Did
that's
any
what I'm
of you guys
saying.
see my
Like you look
protest?
at
Just since you
Go
brought
ahead.
up Greenblatt, did any of you guys see my protest outside of ADL headquarters?
Yeah,
I-
this isn't
I-
about you.
I
I'm
saw
not done my point.
I know what we're talking about. Go back to Gavin.
This concept that they are overrepresented in media is true, but they are elite whites. And have you ever looked into that meme, that what's it called, the Hibernian conspiracy, where they talk about Irish people? Irish people are wildly overrepresented in finance. Pull up some of those memes, Jamie. They're wildly overrepresented in finance. They're wildly overrepresented in media. You got I did my homework today. I was looking at MSNBC's top shows. You got Rachel Maddow, Morning Joe, Jen Psaki, Chris Hayes, Lawrence O'Donnell, Chris Matthews, all Irish. And then you have Joy Reid, Alex Wagner, Al Sharpton. You have CNN, founded by a WASP, Ted Turner, Anderson Cooper, King of the Wasps, Aaron Burnett, Irish. And you know what I was noticing when I noticed these two groups dominating media? I thought both of them have survived adversity, and that separated the wheat from the chaff. You see this with Indians too. When Indians, Dot, not Feather, when Indians come to America, they tend to be ruthless and corrupt because they're surviving this horrific background. So the Irish, the Indians, and the Jews tend to be remarkably tenacious survivors. And we see them and we go, well, you must be cheating. No, they're not cheating. They're just good at their jobs. I think part of it is they don't drink. If I didn't drink, I'd probably be president of the United States by now.
the Irish don't drink.
No, they managed to do it while drinking. Jews don't drink. Look at that. Half our presidents are Irish. So my point is here that, yes, Group 4 does have a need to sabotage America. And I'm as concerned about that as you are. I think you're wasting your energy focusing on groups 1, 2, and 3. And I also believe that we have a lot of Group 4 in ourselves. We hate ourselves. And the reason I hate anti-Semitism is because it absolves us of our own ethnomasochism.
Well, I would just rebut that by saying, all these other groups, they are race loyal. That's the problem. Like my problem is not just with leftism, as expressed by secular Jews, of which, by the way, 80%, something like 70 or 80% of Jews in America vote for Democrats. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but the majority of Jews in America are secular leftists, international types. And so we can, and by the way, they don't consider themselves white. And it's a classic trope. They're white when they need to be, and they're not white when they need to be also. And
but they're
they
realizing
enjoy both
now,
sides.
at post-October 7th, they're realizing with these protests that, holy shit, I am white. I got the Marxist students.
No, they're
and
just
the
realizing
refugees
that the
protesting.
diversity that they've pushed for decades and decades is now turning on them. It's not turning out to be such a good idea. Brett Stevens, a conservative Jew, says that diverse America is the safest for Jews, and Trump is the greatest threat to that because of his immigration policy.
Right.
So
and the
they're
old
all
head
for
the
all of the
ADL,
things that we support on
the
both
whole
sides
ADL
until it comes to Israel.
Is right now saying, holy fuck, I guess we are white. I screwed up.
They're not saying that, though. They're not saying that. They're saying that the non-white people now don't like Israel, and now they're all moving rightward. They're moving towards a more nationalistic disposition. But Jews do not see themselves as white. When you talk about even like, for example, watch like the Larry David Curb Your Enthusiasm show. Larry David's like a liberal Hollywood comedian Jew, somebody who, and I, and Gavin, we roll in the same circles in politics. When these Jews come up to me, they say, oh, Ben Shapiro's not even a real Jew. Oh, this one, they're always telling us who's not really a real Jew and who's really not a Jew. Larry David is like a Hollywood liberal, whatever. But you watch that show, that's just an example. And it's such a communitarian lifestyle. That's their whole social group. That's who they hang out with. They regard Jews better than they regard other people. It's like I said before, they have the same kind of in-group preference that blacks do. What makes it pernicious is that they have so much influence. So
it's kind of like how you have the same admiration for the
me?
Catholics.
Can you not interrupt me,
Did you
please?
just turn up your mic audio before you interrupted?
I think he did. But here's the thing. This is so
I pressed
pernicious.
The mute button on accident.
This is so pernicious because you have a self-serving minority group with power. So what does a self-serving group do with power? They use it to serve themselves first. And then the Goyim get the scraps. The American public gets the scraps. And by the way, that's liberal Jews, but Hasidic Jews, like I said earlier, I mean, Gavin, you're on the same side as Adam, who is just bashing. I mean, you're a Catholic, and he's bashing the Catholic Church. His wet dream is for a Jewish Messiah to destroy the Vatican and loot it and distribute all its goods as reparations to the nations of the world. And he can't even stand it. But that's what you want. And Gavin, you're Catholic, and he's apparently on the complete opposite end of the spectrum. And listen to the animosity. I heard him on a stream. He said that Peter and Paul are evil people because they abandoned their own religion. There's nothing more evil than that. He thinks Christianity is a wicked doctrine. He says Christians are only people that are just afraid of hell, afraid of an eternal hell. They don't realize there's reincarnation. You go to like a therapy session. You go to Jewish hell is you go to psychotherapy for 300 years. Then you're reincarnated as somebody else. He says, Christians are only just afraid of hell. That's why Christians try to do good in the world, because we don't think it's like, it's a little good, little bad, you get a do-over. So they're all on the same team, and the one thing they all have in common is they all hate Jesus. That's the thing they all have in common.
That's not true. See, that's absolutely not true.
How much
Jesus was a righteous person. Let's talk about Jesus, Nick.
Do you know how much this guy has done for Christians in Iraq? Like, this guy has raised millions of dollars protecting Christians in the Middle East who are dying to the tune of 12 a day. And I don't see any of these people who criticize people like Ezra Levant doing anything for Christians in the Middle East. Larry David is in this category. He's an atheist. Temple is bullshit. Temple is fake. These are socialist fucking atheists, and we all have that same enemy. If Adam King has said, or Andrew King has said bad things about Catholics, he doesn't like you, you don't like him. I don't really give a shit about that. All I'm trying to argue with here is your assumption that they pretend that it's a group of different people, but when the shit hits the fan, they unite. That is the crux of our disagreement. I fundamentally disagree with that. When the shit hit the fan on October 7th, these pussies said, fuck Israel. These guys banded together.
They didn't. And the left evaporated.
Of course they did.
The left in Israel evaporated.
Themselves and shutting down traffic in Los Angeles. They're having Jewish protests to protest Israel and shutting down traffic all over the United States. How could you be so intellectually dishonest to say that they're not?
You're just wrong. Larry David is pro-Israel.
Percentage.
Greenblatt is pro-Israel. All these people are, everybody on CNN, everybody would say fake news CNN, liberals, Jake Tapper, Wolf Blitzer, Dana Bash, all the Jews on there. I mean, they literally, when the October 7th attack happened, they had like wall-to-wall coverage where it was just Jewish presenters only supporting Israel. I mean, look at the State Department. Look at like Joe Biden's State Department. We sent our Secretary of State over there who said, our liberal Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, goes over and says, I don't come before you just as the American top diplomat. I also come before you as a Jew. Is Antony Blinken a Hasidic reactionary? No, but there's a dozen examples like this.
All the lefties who were saying ceasefire, all the lefty liberals who were saying ceasefire from day one, NPR, all these left-wing radio stations had nothing but Palestinian rights. They care so much about, look at Queers for Palestine. Like the left, the Jew left is obsessed with Palestine. And that, by the way, is a white trait. And that is my life goal these days, is to figure out why whites hate themselves so much. This is a white person. Why do whites want their own demise? And I hate when you blame the Jews for everything, because it absolves you of your own self-hatred. Not you particularly, Nick, or Vince, but white people in general. We love to hate ourselves, and Jews are part of that because Jews are white.
All right, let me frame this question here. This is a very important question, and I need to frame it this way, because we keep talking about a percentage, and I hear this. It's 30% of Jews are doing 100% of the bad shit in a country. Am I getting you wrong on that, Gavin? Is that what you're kind of saying? It's only 30%. It's not the majority.
No, I didn't say that. I said, as far as white ethnomasochism, these people are responsible for 30% of it. That's just, I'm just pointing out.
Okay, cool. But I'm not even going to try to disagree with you as a moderator here. What I want to point out is that, when we look at stats, right, sometimes they even say that 13% or maybe even 6% of the population commits over half the violent crime, and in some cities up to 90%. Percentages aren't always a good resolution of what the overall effect is. And this is actually a very terrible question, and someone's going to quote me on this and try to blame me for being, full of hatred or wanting to end Jewish existence. And that's not what I'm doing here. As a moderator, I just want to ask this question. When in Australia right now, they just introduced anti-extremism laws in response to the Arabs saying gas the Jews and the protests against Israel, which are predominantly Arab-led, Arab-based. Now, of course, they targeted the Roman salute, so they've made that punishable by up to a year in prison. They've made edgy memes with swastikas a year in prison, and downloading PDFs and books like Mein Kampf for the inference of radicalizing yourself, prison up to 5 years. So it's weird how, again, Jews are 0.4% of the population in this country. They are overrepresented, of course, like every country, in the elitist and the wealthy class. They were upset. There's tons of white guilt here. They didn't like people being upset at them. Instead of punishing the Arab immigrants, who are the ones leading the cause, they've made Nazism illegal and made right-wing nationalism the target of these new domestic emergency violence laws. That being said, 30% of Jews are causing 100% of the Jewish hate because they're causing the problems. Okay, let's go with that truth. And down to it that Jews are not a huge portion and that whites cause a lot of the problems. This is a horrible, horrible question, but I want to just bluntly ask you, would the West be better off with just kicking all of the Jews out?
That's a good setup.
Are you drunk?
And now we're back to the same question that Zerko was rambling his fat ass about. It was, the Jews are getting kicked out of 109 countries. That is the most retarded thing I've ever heard. Would America be better off? I'll tell you something about Jews. We are incredibly diligent and hardworking, and we stick together because of shit like this. Because we're not welcome everywhere. We're only welcome amongst ourselves, even if we hate each other some of the times. I don't want to be stuck in a survival pod with Larry David and Sarah Silverman. But if everybody's coming after the Jew, my chances of survival are better with those two losers.
So you just admitted what we've been saying. Then the left-wing Jews and the right-wing Jews stick together when it comes to Gavin's shaking his head over here, so you're not helping him out.
It's the truth. When the right wingers like Nick want to lump all Jews into one category, it doesn't leave me any room to go after and purge my own society of the opiates in my society. Like when you went on your debacle with Kanye and you were going all around and Kanye was on Gavin's show and he said, are all Jews to blame? Blacks aren't disproportionate. in crime? Are all blacks? I don't go around saying all blacks are responsible for crimes. Are all Jews evil? And he said, yeah. And it's like, where do I fit into that? That was like I loved Kanye West before that thing. Why did he?
Now you don't like him anymore?
Why would I like him? Why would I like him anymore?
Because you're not a universalist.
It pains me to not listen to his music. When his song comes on the radio, it's like, oh, this fucking piece of shit again.
Because you're
I'm not
going to
like somebody who doesn't like. I don't have to like somebody who doesn't like me.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
I know.
If they don't want me to exist, I don't need to become their fanboy or their
Adam. If you were to get rid of two religions, if you were given the choice, or you had to get rid of one religion, and it was Islam or Catholicism, which one would you get rid of?
Great question.
Duh.
What?
What'd you say?
Catholicism.
What?
Yeah,
of course. What do you think? Who do you think you're talking? You're on the debate stage with
you guys.
Gavin. We've known.
Let him cook.
Let me explain myself. You want to hear an explanation, or do you want my one word?
No, we want the go off, please.
All right. So here's the thing: Jesus was a real man, and he brought down a teaching, and he had a vast menagerie of writings, unbelievable amounts of writings. Somehow the Catholics at Nicaea only saw it important to include Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, right? Eusebius points out that the first 15 popes were actually Jews. So in the beginning of Catholicism, when they embraced the other teachings of Jesus, like the Gospel of Thomas, the Gospel of Mary, and all these other Gospels, there was a lot more palpability between we can't call them Catholics because they weren't Catholics. Catholicism is really a Nicene invention, and it's a Nicene invention based in limiting the amount of texts that people have to understand Jesus. So Catholicism itself is not getting rid of Jesus religions. It's getting rid of fake news inside of Jesus religions. You know, I always wonder why nobody ever stood to learn the Apocrypha or to learn the Nag Hammadi library or any of these other texts that are extremely relevant. I know in the Jewish culture, there are some sages that I follow. If a shoemaker from a distant place said one comment that Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai said this while passing in an alley, I would study it. But for some reason, Catholics don't even think that or the Catholic doctrine of Matthew, Mark, the Nicene doctrine. I don't even want to call them Catholics. I want to call them Niceans. The
Dude,
Nicene
you're babbling.
doctrine
What the fuck are you talking
doesn't
about?
allow them to study
This is
anything of
ridiculous.
Jesus besides Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. I think that is a detriment to Jesus himself.
But can I ask you one question? So what do you think? So you say that Catholicism is preventing the Jesus followers. You curiously don't call them Christians, Christ meaning Messiah. Now, what is your view about Jesus' crucifixion? Do you think that he was crucified and rose from the dead? Or
divide the world up into two camps.
Well, would you think that Jesus rose from the dead?
I'm answering you. I divide the world up into two camps. There are those of us who believe that a Messiah is coming, and then there are others who don't. And the rest of it is meaningless. Is the Messiah coming or is the Messiah not coming? Now, I believe the Messiah is coming. Nick, I hope you believe that the Messiah is coming. If the Messiah
coming back,
Jesus,
coming back for your ass, pal.
Yeah, he's returning.
I'm going to say Gesundheit. Hey, if the Messiah comes and it's somebody else, you have to understand something. The Bible is very clear. Every knee will bow and every tongue will profess. Every single person on earth is going to say, oh, that's the Messiah. It's not going to be the Christians and not the Jews. It's not going to be the Jews and not the Christians. It's Ad Shiloh. Shiloh is a gathering of all the peoples of the world, and that is the Messiah. And so there is such a fundamental understanding of the Messiah. Either you believe a Messiah is coming or you don't. I'm a Messianic. I believe that the Messiah is coming. Do I care if it's Jesus? Not at all. If the person comes and fulfills the function of what the Messiah is supposed to do, I will be the first to praise his name.
So
this is the reason why the Jews have tried to subvert the Catholic Church. This is the reason why they represent Jesus. They represent Catholic priests in the way that they do in Hollywood. Is because Catholicism and Catholics are their enemy.
Wait. I just want to establish. So you don't then believe that Jesus was crucified and rose from the dead, correct?
I see nothing wrong with any of that. It doesn't bother me.
Do you
it
believe
doesn't
it?
Just
add or
answer the
subtract
question.
to my faith.
Do you believe that? Do you believe that happened or no?
Do I believe it happened? It's not something that I think about that often.
So you think about the apocryphal gospels,
I'll tell you something.
and you think about the Council of Nicaea,
tell
but
you
you don't
something.
think
In
about
Judaism,
whether
more than
Jesus
one
was really
person-
raised from the dead.
More than one person in Judaism came back to life after being
Was Jesus one of them?
Yeah, but
You know what?
Jesus,
For this argument, I'll say fine. That's okay.
Andrew,
It doesn't
Jesus is
bother
the only
me.
one
It
who
doesn't
said,
change the
I
fact.
am the Son of God. I guarantee you I can rise from the dead. And he rose from the dead. If there's someone drowned and they were revived, that doesn't count. Jesus was the only one who claimed he was the Son of God, was murdered for it, and then came back and proved
the
them
Jews.
all wrong.
By the Romans.
By the Jews.
By the
See,
Romans.
Adam King is gonna, and this is the reason. This is
By the
Vatican too,
Romans.
right? They try
Let's
to
talk
get the
about it.
Catholic Church to never
This
talk about
idea-
this.
This
right?
idea that
This
Pontius Pilate.
Adam
Let's
King
talk about
will
Jesus
say,
and Barabbas.
well, hold on.
You guys want to go down Jesus and
I
Barabbas?
know you're gonna say. I know what you're gonna say. I already know
What
you're
am I
gonna say. You're gonna say
Mr.
that
James?
he was that a Roman soldier put the spear in him, and the same spear is being paraded around by Hitler when Hitler was in power. It was the Jews told them to kill Christ.
Which
That's what happened.
Jews? The Jews of Jerusalem, or did all the Jews of all of earth get together and put a vote and say that all the Jews say that this is what's going to happen? Or was it a specific amount of Jews? I personally believe that the Jesus Barabbas situation never even happened. I think it's a fable and it's completely fake.
There
I
it
think
is.
there's a lot. I think there's a lot of. I think there's a lot of the Nicene.
Wait. Hold on. I know my mic cuts out when you guys speak. Flaw just told me that. I don't know. That's a sound issue on my end. So sorry. That's why I'm having a hard time interjecting. But Gavin, this is on your side here. I'll say this: you're with Adam. You let us know your opinion. You basically liquid shat splooged into the microphone, which is a pretty great statement. But I mean, from my understanding, and I don't know if anything's changed, but you're Catholic, or at least you're.
I don't think you understand how farts sound. Like they all sound moist. Do you think I honestly shit my pants?
Well, mine don't sound, dude. What do you eat? You think you're drinking too much
You
beer?
need to fart into a microphone more often. They all sound juicy. The anal lips have a bare minimum of lube, the same as your mouth lips. So it
Anal
sounds like
don't be careful. You said anal juicy. So
anal
we got
lips.
But I think I just want to get your opinion because
I am mortified. That
Gavin's pissed. He's about to read he's broke out the protocols of the elders of Zion.
My co-host would rather annihilate Catholicism than Islam, and I say this to Anthony Cumia. By the way, we talked with Cumia yesterday on Compound Censored about the tunnels for like 20 minutes, so that's why I'm so jaded about the subject. But I came to Zionism from Islamophobia. I don't think people understand that. Tommy Robinson and I are the same. Like, he came to Israel and Zionism from his seething hatred of the Pakistani grooming gangs. And I came to Zionism from my seething hatred of Islam after 9/11. I'm a raging Islamophobe. I don't think Islam is compatible with the modern world. I don't really care about Jews that much. I've never really looked into the Holocaust. It's not a thing. I have, Jew pals, but I came to Judaism from the enemy of my enemy is my friend. So when my friends prefer Islam to Catholicism, dude, I gotta say,
the truth is that
the
truth is
Gavin just got converted. He just
I know. I saw him pull up on the computer the protocols of the elders of Zion right after he said that. I was like, damn.
I read it.
It's like,
they
damn.
already read it. I'm a speed reader.
See. The thing is that they would.
I think that this is a little bit too complex for you guys. Let me ask you a question.
Hold on. It was my turn to speak. I have barely gotten to speak like this whole entire time.
I muted him.
He just admitted. And this is what we've been trying to tell you for a long time, Gavin. They would rather get rid of Catholicism. If they were given the choice between Islam and Catholicism, they would choose to get rid of Catholicism, just like they would choose to get rid of white people and white nations and replace them with Muslims.
A world without
because they view. Hold on a second here. Just like they would happily replace white people with Muslims in white countries because they think that white people are a greater threat to them and to their survival than diverse populations full of Muslims.
Adam,
what's
you
happening
really
in
threw a
London. It's just
wedge in
like
the
Brett
works
Stevens
with that
says. He
quote.
says that a
Let's talk about
diverse.
it. Gavin, let's talk about it. Let's really talk about this issue. Gavin,
Gavin, come on.
I have a
Don't
very
be like
strong-
that.
Listen, let
Don't
me speak.
abandon me.
I
We
have a
were
very
oppressed for
strong
2,000
commitment to
years.
retrieving the lost artifacts of the Jewish people, which are held by the Vatican.
Yeah, I'm out.
I don't think that the Vatican represents. Let me ask you a question. Here's
Let's
a real
go.
Question. Here's a real question about Catholicism.
I
okay?
knew that question would be.
Good one, Vince. I appreciate it. So
There he
now
goes.
the debate. All right, whatever.
I think he's joking.
You guys do whatever you want, but
Serves
you know
him
the
right.
truth is
Injustice to the Jew.
the truth is the Jewish people have been oppressed so
Oh
hard by the
no!
Catholics.
It's
What do you
another
expect
show.
me to say? Like, what do you expect me to say? The Catholics have all of our documents. The Catholics have all of our possessions. They parade around a story about Jesus that isn't true. They only give a partial truth about the life of Jesus. Did Jesus marry? Did Jesus have children? According to you guys, Jesus was never even had children. According to many
you
other
guys,
Christian
Jesus
groups,
was.
Jesus had
According
children.
to you guys, Jesus
These are
was the
huge
illegitimate son of a
fundamental
Roman soldier named Pantera.
Listen,
Oh, man.
you guys believe that the Jews killed Jesus because of this Jesus Barabbas myth, which is perpetrated by the Catholics, which has caused the death of millions of Jews around the world.
Pater noster, qui es in celis, sanctificetur.
All right, you guys aren't going to hear the difference. You guys don't understand what I'm talking about.
Oh, okay. We're just a bunch of stupid goyim, I guess.
You're a stupid goy, but there's other people who are smart goyim. But the truth of the matter is that Catholicism is full of holes. And if you guys want to, Islam is also full of holes. Just so that you know, Vince, I want to see a world where both of these fake religions that plagiarize Judaism are disassembled. Islam says that Ishmael was on the altar 1,700 years after Abraham took Isaac to the altar. These are huge fundamental things. I think the Quran is as far as a book is concerned, at least Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John are real, authentic books. Islam is a complete fabrication. But at least in Islam, the Muslims have been much more kind to Jews throughout antiquity than Catholics have. And I'm not saying Christians, I'm saying Catholics. Catholics, and I don't mean any offense to your heritage or your culture or anything of this nature. All I'm saying is that the Catholic Nicene doctrine has been incredibly oppressive to Jews, continues to deny that the Jews have any rights to our own documents, even though I don't think Jesus would be okay with stealing. But for some reason, it's okay that the Catholic, because Nick says, by the right of conquest, Jesus gets to keep all of our books. By the right of conquest, Jesus gets to keep everything. The Bible clearly says that the Messiah will come on Mount Zion and judge the mountain of Asav, which is the mountain of Rome. And if you want to hide behind Rome as being like this ideal society of justice and morality, I'm sorry, but you're just mistaken. It's an immoral society.
Is Rome
unjust.
predicated on violence and you hate Rome because it's genocidal violence?
Nick.
He actually said this. He actually said the Romans had no culture except for violence. That's
okay.
quote.
Yeah. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna wrap up here. We're gonna do some super chats. Some super chats here and some Q&A from the censor.tv. I want to remind you guys something more important than ever is that this show is made possible by both of our sponsors today, which, of course, as we've brought up, the show was brought to you by censor.tv. Make sure you use my promo code OFFENSIVE to get 20% off a membership. We have a lot more debates like this happening. Not all of them will be in front of the paywall. So if you want to get the debates, if you want to get the show, you can do that. But that also reminds me, we got these guys here. They're all hanging out. They have decided to basically put their night on the line. I know even Nick's, Adam, some of these people have probably canceled their shows to be here. And so it's so important that you follow these guys on social media. Their links are in below. You can follow them on Rumble, especially people like Vince, who's obviously been kicked off of literally everything. Make sure you follow him where you can follow him. Same with Adam. Have you been censored?
On everything, yeah. I just want to say one more thing about the Jesus thing, and then I want to
wait. Well, we're going to do closing statements. I'm saying follow Adam, and of course, we all know Nick's been censored and everything. He's trying to grow on Rumble, so make sure you follow his Rumble. We'll read a few of the questions from the censored chat. It is late, and then we'll also look at the super chats as well. There's not that many of them because, as you know, that's what it is. But one of the most important things I got to tell you guys is we are regrowing this channel. We got 550-something thousand subscribers on YouTube, and they fucked the channel up. We got a message from Wojecki saying your channel doesn't follow guidelines. You got to delete all your shit back last December. And after we had to clear wipe the channel, it fucked the whole channel and it never recovered. It's been demonetized for 2 years. We're lucky to even have it, but we don't really use it. So make sure to hit the follow button. We have almost 14,000 people watching live right now. And if you don't follow Slightly Offensive, make sure you follow this. You catch the live streams. We're live Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 10 p.m. Eastern time. And we also have bonus content as well, which again, you can get at censored.tv. Also, don't forget as well to check out our sponsor for today, which is at purgestore.com. You can get the parasite cleanse. You can get immunotherapy. You can get immuno support, things to help your immune system. You can get things to help like rosacea and reddening. Like I have dry scalp, lots of different nutrients and supplements that you can get at the website. Most importantly, get their parasite cleanse because a lot of you have parasites that are affecting your mood, your gut microbiome, and it's really important to support them. They are an amazing America First company. I'm not going to say who the owners are, but they support you. They support this network. Check it out at purgestore.com, promo code Elijah. I'm going to bring up my guests here, and I just want to read a few of these so we can get into this. We have this question here from Wadta. Says, how would Alex Jones feel about Adam's comment about Islam and Catholicism? I guess that's to Adam. How would Alex Jones feel about you not liking Catholicism more than
if
Islam?
Jesus came back today, he would go to a synagogue and not a Catholic church. He would go to a Jewish synagogue to pray, and he would not go to a Catholic church.
Nick?
How would Alex Jones feel about that? Well, Alex Jones has Freemasons, Kabbalists working for him, which is super ironic. So I don't actually think he would mind at all. I mean, based on what he's been saying lately, he's been taking notes.
I think Alex is a bastion of free speech. Just to answer the question, I think Alex creates an environment. I think Alex creates an environment where anything goes. One time I heard Alex Stein talking about how he came on my show and he was like, they almost let me say everything I want at Blaze. It's amazing. And I was thinking to myself, I literally could say anything I want at InfoWars. And I respect individual people. It doesn't mean that I have to agree with the doctrine that they and I think to Vince's question, Islam or Catholicism, I think that's an unfair question because the truth is I personally would rather do away with both of them, the Quran and the Catholic Nicene doctrine. I believe that it's a fabrication and it only sets the world back from actually getting closer to the Messiah. And if that Messiah is Jesus, then praise God. I have no problem with Jesus being the Messiah. Jesus is not going to come about through Matthew, Mark, and Luke, and John. Jesus is going to come about through all the documents and all the hidden things that are underneath the Vatican, that the Vatican is sheltering and hiding from the entire world. The Vatican is the number one censoring force in creation.
I think that's Jews, actually.
Whatever. It's not. It's the Vatican. And if you're so intimidated by it, come. I invited you to Israel. Nick, take me to the Vatican catacombs. Let's go see what's inside.
I'm not taking you to the Vatican. You'll burst into flames.
Yeah,
but that's okay because you'll just come back 100 years later.
And to be fair, Alex Stein's a talented guy, but he says whatever he wants on a channel that I built that was given to him. That was my old show, and that's a whole nother story. But that nobody really watches that much anymore. But nobody watches my show either, so it doesn't really matter. But he's a talented guy, and that's great that if you guys have that. And a lot of people allow you to say a lot of things. I think Blaze let me say a lot of things too. I think they're a great company, but the most important things is that Alex Jones is even turning his mood on this kind of stuff. Alex went from this very pro-Zionist movement. And even Gavin left the conversation. So I don't even know if Alex is Jewish or whatever he is. He's a talented individual. And you guys might agree on a lot. I have no idea what's going on. But it looks like the tides are turning a little bit, right? It looks like people are sort of switching their perspective because like people like Jews, or they like Israel, or they like all of these things, but they don't exactly support the extent of like what you said, Adam, where it's like, okay, well, Islam or Catholicism, obviously the West is a Christian Christendom. I mean, it's gotten more secular in recent years. People have moved away from this, but I would say that as we've moved away, it's began to decay, right? As you move away, it begins to decay. So I don't know if the West would agree. And I want to ask, this is a very serious question to the guys on the table. This is kind of the closing statements. We'll read a few more super chats. Closing statement. Is that the general consensus of religious Jews or of Jewish people? I don't know. I don't know a lot of Jewish, like religious Jewish people. I know secular Jews from LA, so they don't like any religion. But do religious Jews typically like all believe that Catholicism is worse than Islam? Because if that's true, that's not the image they put out.
The truth
absolutely.
is,
I mean, it's the reason why you see It's the reason why you see, again, going back like Sarah Silverman, always making fun of Jesus Christ. She once said that, and I know that she's a comedian or whatever, but she once said that, I hope the Jews did kill Christ. Jews hate Christ. And I think it was revealed today. I mean, it was revealed today even to Gavin McInnes, who left the debate. He left his own partner during the debate because he said that. And like I was saying before, when given the choice, if to get rid of Islam or get rid of Catholicism, they will choose Catholicism, or really Christianity broadly, every single time, just like they would gladly get rid of white people in white countries and replace them with Muslims because they feel safer in a diverse, non-white society. And just I just want to say one last thing. This is my closing statement. They believe that the term Judeo-Christian, Nick brought it up. He says, Judeo-Christianity does not exist. It doesn't exist. They're totally opposite things. And Jews hate Christ. They believe that Christ was a lot of them believe that Christ was the illegitimate son of a Roman soldier named Pantera. They believe that Christ is burning in hell in hot excrement. They believe that Mary was a prostitute. And again, I think a lot of this was revealed today. Adam King couldn't help himself but be honest in answering that question. I applaud you for your honesty. And it really showed a lot of people a lot of things today.
Yeah, like that the Catholic Church still holds the largest collection of Jewish books and Jewish original books in the entire world. Those are our possessions. We were killed by the Catholics so that they could take our books.
Now, and apparently you were kicked out of so many nations because of Catholic influence.
And you want to be all like forgiveness and peace and everything. That's theft. Are you supporting theft? It seems like you support theft. I mean, if you want me to not be, show Nick thinking that he's so fly.
Are you?
Whatever. Why are you mad? I'm
tired.
Mad, We've been doing this for 2.5 hours. Like, these closing statements?
This is how it is, okay?
Bro is
this
mad.
Is how it is. I'll give you my closing statements. I'm a Jew. I have grown up my whole life under the power infrastructure that exists in this world, and it doesn't favor the Jew. What favors the Jew is Jews sticking together as Jews, and that is what's propelled us to get us ahead in society. There are historical wrongs that were created. The Bible clearly says what the Messiah comes to do. The Messiah comes to empty the Vatican catacombs, and not only return the Jewish lost objects, but all the lost objects to all the nations of the world. There has been no greater force to erase human history than the Catholic and Roman influence that perpetrated the entire world, not just the West, but the Catholics erased numerous nations inside of Europe. And Christianity was born out of Catholicism because there was a real revolution that needed to take place inside of the church. And it continued to have revolution after revolution after revolution. Are Catholics bad? I'm not here to judge people. I'm here to judge doctrine. The Catholic doctrine is not the correct doctrine of Jesus. There is so many missing books that they don't want you to read. And I encourage all the listeners, read the Apocrypha, Read the Nag Hammadi library. Read other things. That don't just be interested in the limited things that you're allowed to read about Jesus. The Catholics love giving you a very limited scope of what Jesus is.
Read Jesus in the Talmud.
Jesus is in the Talmud in 3 different places, but also read the Talmud itself, not just memes that you find on the internet that are written in English. Read the Talmud in Aramaic. The Jewish people were one of the only cultures today that still speak Aramaic in the home, which is the language that Jesus spoke. There's a missing link between Jesus-based faiths and Jews. The two, if you truly want to understand Jesus and his teachings and his gospels, you have to understand Judaism. Jesus celebrated Hanukkah. I'll give you an example. The Christians carry the tradition of Maccabees, not the Jews. It's Jesus that brings the tradition of the book of Maccabees, not the Jews. The book of Maccabees is not in the Jewish lexicon. It's in the Christian lexicon. These are very important things. Jesus lit a Hanukkah menorah. He didn't have a Yuletide Christmas tree. We have to become honest about what these things are. Is the Easter Bunny Catholic? Is the Christmas tree Catholic or Jesus-based?
No,
Catholicism
these
and
are all
Jesus are
mockeries
very
that the
different
Jews
things.
intentionally tried to make about Christianity through media and through culture. But can you wrap it up? We want to get the super chats. Can you hurry up with your Nick has to give his closing statements too.
Please, because we want to get the super chats to go ahead and by the way, I'm sure with Gavin leaving, I'm sure it's a little bit frustrating. So I kind of want to give you the precedence of not leaving as well, because I know in these kind of debates, when someone walks out, it can be a lot as well. So I appreciate you, Adam, staying on and not throwing in the towel when Gavin did. But go ahead and close up, then we'll give it to Nick, and then we're going to read the super chats, and then we'll be good to go.
Look, I want to just say that before Zerka showed up, I think we were like really onto something, and he came in to shit stir, and that is what it is. But that's who he is. He's just a low life shit stirrer. So whatever. Look, I see a new future. I see a different world where I believe in the world of the Messiah. This was about Israel, Zionism, and the future of humanity. And the future of humanity is that the Messiah is coming, whether you want to see the Messiah or whether you think you know who the Messiah is or whether the Jews know who the Messiah is. It doesn't matter who the Messiah is. What matters is what the Messiah is going to do. And it's not that we need to look into the past and have to come to some grand acceptance, and the Christians are going to and the Catholics are going to submit the Jews, and then all the Jews are going to be like, oh, it was Jesus, and then after that, then Jesus will come back. But and I don't even want to focus this on Jesus or my closing statements on Jesus, because this whole thing was about Zionism, and this whole thing was about Jews and Judaism and Israel. And truth be told, Israel is a modern miracle of God's doing. Can humans help in the hand of God's miracles? Absolutely. And the prophecy clearly states that the Jews will be brought back from all the nations of the world. Read Ezekiel 38-40, and will be brought back to the land of their home, and they will build a nation there. And the question that you have to ask yourself is that a sign of the coming of the Messiah or not? And the truth, the final function of the Messiah, like I said, the Messiah is the personhood of the Messiah is irrelevant. The function is what matters. And that will be that the mountain of Zion will judge the mountain of Asav. And that is the Catholic Church. That is Rome. And that will be the emptying out of the Vatican catacombs. We're going to find out all sorts of things when that happens. Don't interrupt my closing statements.
Dude, you've been going on for like 10 minutes. The reason why Jews are returning to Israel, or maybe might return to Israel in the future, is because we see the destruction of Western nations intentionally, probably for in part this reason, to get the Jews to leave these Western nations and return to Israel. But you've been going on for 10 minutes. Nick has to get in.
I'm giving my closing sentence.
Dude, it's been 10 minutes.
My closing sentence or not? Do you want to hear what I have
sentence?
to say,
Yeah, closing sentence. Wrap it up.
Closing sentence is the Messiah's coming, and everybody has to deal with that. Everybody's going to have to rectify what they believe the Messiah is coming here to do. If you believe that the Messiah is coming here to convert all the Jews to Catholicism, you're probably going to be disappointed when the Messiah comes and goes straight to a synagogue. and goes straight to Judaism, puts on tefillin, and
You have to
prays to the
destroy
God
it.
of Israel. My God is the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. That is who the God of creation is. And when it comes down that the Messiah comes back, the Messiah is going to bring people to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. That's a very serious thing that is going to happen. And there will be justice that will be about, because the Messiah comes to bring justice. The Messiah
Okay,
is
great.
justice.
All right,
Can't
all
wait
right.
to hear your
And
next
the
speech
Messiah
at your
will
mod
empty out
headquarters.
the catacombs of the Vatican.
We're gonna wrap that up, and I do want to let you know, Adam, please stay on because there's some questions for you in the super chats. Nick, closing statement, please let us know. And then the super chats are not that long. There's not a ton of them, but we just want to make sure we get through the questions to encourage people to support the show. Go ahead and let us know your closing thoughts.
Okay, well, yeah, closing statement. Just thanks everybody for being a part of this. Actually, even though I disagree with Adam severely on religion, I actually respect that he came on, because a lot of Jewish people don't do that. So, and like Vince said, he's honest, and there's a value to that, and we appreciate Gavin coming on. Always is a treat, and Vince and Elijah, thank you for hosting and putting this whole thing together. Great viewership. I thought it was a great discussion. Overall, I thought it was a good discussion. The thing is, on some level, I think Adam's right. A lot of people just don't know about the Jews. That's just it. I mean, I think that a lot of, like Gavin said, a lot of people regard the Jews as basically funny white people. Like, they're just white, but a little bit different. Like, they celebrate Hanukkah, and they have these funny holidays and things like that. But I think Adam is right. And he's also right that Jews do study Aramaic and Hebrew and the ancient languages. And I think that Gentiles should learn them. Gentiles used to learn Greek, Hebrew, Latin, sometimes Aramaic, and study those texts. I think people should look at what's in the Talmud. I think people should read the Zohar. People should learn about Kabbalah, and they should learn about the Jewish role in society. And I think when they do, what they will find is that, look, these people have no affinity for the real Christians, which are Catholics. It's a fundamentally different religion, and it's almost what defines them is that they don't worship Jesus. And the other thing is this sort of narcissistic race loyalty. It's just sort of this endless recitation of, poor us, we were oppressed, our stuff is under the Vatican, when are we going to get ours? We're constantly under siege. And, I get where it's coming from. It's not that it's unfounded. But what was amazing is that in this debate, Adam even alienated his own. I mean, there was a Gentile Catholic who was willing to stand next to him and defend the state of Israel and defend the Jewish people. And, he wasn't even thinking, there wasn't even enough grace or consideration for the other or for a non-Jew, that when he was obviously set up, it was an obvious setup, easiest question ever. Would you eliminate Islam or Catholicism? Without even blinking, he said, Catholicism. But that's because, but they don't even think like that. They're not even thinking about the Christian next to them. They're not even thinking about the other people. Because what they're thinking about is how they have been suffering for thousands of years and persecuted by Hitlers and popes and Caesars. And this is where there's a deep-seated animosity which will never be relieved for Europeans and for Catholics, specifically for Rome. Okay, can I finish my closing statement? Which is represented by Rome, whether it's a Catholic Church representing Rome and Europa representing Rome. They have this animosity for it, which is with a religious fervor. And maybe that's fine and well. This is the last thing I'll say. But these people have a lot of power. So it's people with a lot of power, whether they're religious or not, and they have this deep-seated animosity that they've had for thousands of years because they think they're the ultimate victim. That's a poison. It's a very poisonous mentality to have. I mean, they rule over a Christian European nation, and yet they have this feeling towards us. So, contrary to what people say, I'm not a bigot. I'm not blaming them for problems. I don't hate anybody. I love everybody. I don't want to kill anybody. I don't want to remove anybody. But I think that people need to consider, who is responsible enough to run our country, and I think that's Christians. And I think it should be significantly European. And that's my closing statement. That's my thesis for the
Vince, did you technically get a closing or no?
Yeah, I did.
All right. So
let me go to super chats.
Yeah, let me go to these super chats here. So really big shout out to some of these people. I really do feel like a new streamer, by the way, because I'm new to streaming. I just got my Rumble channel back about a year ago next month. So I just got this channel back and ownership of it. It was really small. We've gone up to 40,000 subs in about a year. So that's really fucking cool. We've gotten these people, and we just started getting live chats recently on here. So it's new to me on here, and I'm really appreciative of you guys. And I want to say that everyone on here knows, Adam knows, Vince knows, and Nick knows. We don't take your support for granted. That's your shares, your clipping the videos, that's your comments, that's your engagement in the chats, and of course also your super chats, financial support, memberships. It's super fucking cool that we can have a parallel economy, that we can continue to support ourselves, because these people fucking suck that we're fighting their fucking blow, and maybe something bad will happen to them one day, and I hope it does. But we got a super chat here from Imhopolite. Just told me to stay the fuck out of their way on X, but I take that as a friendly thing because they sent $100. Clean Leon said, Adam, do you think the politicians that AI PAC buys are good stewards of America?
No, not at all.
Okay, Vince?
The question cut off. Sorry, say that one more time.
Yeah, do you think the politicians that AI PAC buys are good stewards of America?
Of course not.
Nick?
No.
I think we could all agree that all of our politicians suck.
Yeah. No, I agree. We got one from Impolite. Also said Nick won with a giant golden medallion and $100. So thank you for that. I really appreciate that. Pudding Popper said, win Elijah, win Vince, win Nick, win Jesus Christ, Son of God, El Mole people. Thank you for hosting our boys, and congrats on the biggest debate of the year so far. And by the way, this was the biggest show on the entire Rumble website. So that's really good. This was the whole website. This was the biggest show. And it's been the biggest show, but they still won't put us on the featured. And we got to figure out why they'll never put the show on the featured. We'll be the biggest live on the website.
Yeah, they do that to Nick too. They do that to Nick almost every live stream. And they do it to me too. Like my videos get way more views than most of the people in the same topic, and they don't put it up on the. It's like every Nick stream is not on the front page.
No, but we'll have thousands of like my last show, we'll have thousands of people watching. We're like in the top 3, and we're not even we can't even like find us even in like the top of we're the top in like podcasts. You can't even find us in our category. It's like down. And so I think there's got to be some, hopefully I want to talk to Chris, the CEO, see why the fuck they're doing that. Cause I really like Rumble, and I think it's got a good future. So we'll see. Base Dolph Groipler 88 says, Jesus, sorry. Jesus didn't have a Christmas tree. No way. Really? Idiot. Also, by the way, you guys are really psychotic because on one of the last streams, one of Nick's supporters sent in a question, and we put it up on the screen. But when on our software here, when we show chats, right? So like if we take people and we show them, it shows their doppelganger. And for some reason, you guys kept putting frogs. But so we put them up because there was frogs. But then frogs were wearing like swastika t-shirts and stuff. We didn't notice that. So like all throughout the stream, there's just like swastikas popping up on the screen from like frogs. And I didn't notice until some journalist was like, why do you have swastikas on your live stream? And I was like, I did not know that's what the fuck was going on. Thank you for letting me know. But you guys are fucking hilarious. You guys do crazy shit. And I think it's weird. But I know, by the way, Adam, thanks for being a good sport on this stuff, by the way. I think it's on a phone call. Is he getting the call on the stream? What's going on? What's happening? Is everyone muted? Why is everyone muted? What's going on here? Okay.
I'm muted.
I'm answering the call. Give me a second, then I'll answer the super chats.
No worries.
Oh, he's got the call. He got the call.
I got the call. Right.
Dude.
Are we getting a call on a live stream? That's fine.
Don't joke about that. We've been persecuted for 2,000 years. It's not funny. Our treasures are under the Vatican, you stupid goy. Go ahead. Where are you going?
Nowhere. Clean Leon said Israel.
Looking for Chabads under his desk.
I'm here to answer any of the super chats if anybody wants to ask a question. I just have family obligations. I got to answer this. It's been 3 fucking hours.
Are you mad that you're on here? I got a kid too.
Hey, I'll call you back. They want me on the
I'm not trying to press you.
He's like inconvenienced.
Yeah.
Hey, I'll call you back.
No,
Thank you for your time.
to be fair, it's a voluntary thing. You can switch off. I don't want to fuck around if your family's mad. You can always jump
No, it's fine. Let's go.
All right.
Choose a route.
Cleveland said Israel gets the oil from the Kurds thanks to the Iraq war. The price is secret, but we know it is below market rate because Israel exports it for profit. America first. Adam, you want to answer that? That was a question.
I don't know who Israel gets its oil from.
Okay. We have one here that says Israel is controlling the world using astral projection. This is from someone named Big Admin Forever. Remote viewing to read your mind and control you like Simon Magus, controlling Samaria. Check it out. Tim Rathot videos. Bow down witches. Adam, that is a really interesting thing because I don't like using the word conspiracy, and I'm not trying to corroborate what this claim was made. But a lot of people, right, what he's claiming is that like Jews, I know what this goes back to, right? This is like the Talmudic idea of like Saturn worship and like it's like a form of witchcraft, etc. Is that a legit, according to you, right? Because I've seen some of these comments on these types of debates. Is Talmudic Judaism like a form of like has similarities like Kabbalah type of like witchcraft stuff, or is that mostly just a myth or like an anti-Semitic trope type of thing?
Like, are you asking if the Talmud is esoteric?
Well, just if it's in the realm of like witchcraft.
No,
like
it's not. It's not. The Talmud is this series of legal debates about basic society. Like, if your ox gores somebody else's ox, who ends up picking up the fee? Inside of the Talmud, there's a section called the Ein Yaakov, which is like all of the more esoteric stuff. But the truth is there's so much more to the Torah than just the Mikra, which is the 24 books. The Talmud actually is originally originally it's called the Mishnah. The Mishnah was a period of about 300 or 400 years where all it was called the Anshe Knesset Gadol, the men of the Great Assembly. Those who came back from the Babylonian exile wrote down the Mishnah, and then later the Amoraim came and commented on the Mishnah, and together those two bodies, which is roughly like 600 to 800 years of time, was codified in the Talmud. It's a series of writings, and some of it is very esoteric, some of it is not. But originally there were 600 tractates of Mishnah. Today we only have 6. One of the claims that the Jews have is the Vatican is holding on to the other tractates of Mishnayot, which is fundamental to our religion and our way of life.
Okay, we have one more question. This is for everybody, actually. This is from the censored chat, so we'll have about 5 more questions, just so you know, unless anyone sends a last-minute super chat, so you guys know you can get some sleep. I know it's been about 3 hours. Don't worry, I still got a whole nother show to make for the Gateway Pundit after this to launch in a couple hours. But somebody asked right here. They said number 1. Red said Elijah. Unfortunately, bad team up. Adding Zerka was cringe. Flodzilla is retarded. I don't agree with that. But Tunnel Jew, that's your name? Oh, geez. Okay, so Tunnel Jew asked, tell us what y'all think of Goyim. Are Goyim considered cattle? I don't even know what that means. But let's just throw to anybody who wants to. I don't know what that means. But
the word Goyim means nation. Everyone is a goy. Even Jews are goyim. So when people say that the Jews call the Gentiles goyim, everyone is a goy. Every human being is a goy. And no, the Gentiles are not cattle.
Okay. You guys agree with that? Do you think the Jews think that people are less than, or like that they can like cattle, or is that an anti-Semitic trope?
That's just a total lie. Of course, Jews use goy in a derogatory way against Gentiles. To say that they don't is just that is what they do.
We use the term to describe the other, that which is not Jewish, but it is not a derogatory term.
But you do use it in a derogatory way.
Well, it's the same way that the Muslims use dhimmi and the Catholics use apostate.
Okay, there you go. And not only that, but what do you think about the Kabbalist view that Gentiles our souls cannot raise to the same level as the Jews? Do you believe that?
So I'm happy that you brought this up, because this is a very good topic to get into. Judaism is really
just like a short one, though.
Yes, Gentiles could get to higher. Gentiles could even get to certain higher levels than Jews. If you want to know the truth. In Kabbalah, it's about accessing higher levels of free will, and the greatest person of all time was actually who accessed free will was actually a complete sinner. He was a horrible person, but the highest level was actually reached by a Gentile, and his name was Bilam, and but that was the highest level of like, I don't know what you call it, like reality bending consciousness or whatnot. And there is to argue. I mean, Bilam didn't have a relationship with God. Moses had the relationship with God, and in that respect, it's a much higher level. But I'm using this to illustrate the point that this concept that Jews feel that Gentiles are beneath them is not true. Jews feel that everybody has something to collectively add to the quilt of humanity, and we would love to be able to share our unique tradition and culture with the world, and we believe that it could help illuminate everything. And to be honest with you, just to get back to the stuff about Jesus,
but you don't proselytize. In fact, you're against that.
No, we don't convert. We don't proselytize people. But sometimes I think like maybe it is like, I don't want to convert people to Judaism, but I definitely want to teach people about the Torah. I want to teach the Gentiles about the Torah. And I think that Christians are the most ready to receive it because they've embraced the Messiah already. They are ready to receive a messianic figure. Even Islam doesn't have such a strong messianism.
What do you think about pornography? Do you think it should be banned?
It's disgusting. I mean, nothing should ever be banned. I don't believe in limiting.
All right. We're gonna wrap this up.
Okay, yeah.
I don't want to.
Okay.
I don't want to.
Okay.
I want to say thank you to you guys for being here. I want to read just a couple more chats here as well. Someone said they sent in a $25 super chat on Censor.tv. Again, I'm really sorry to Censor.tv audience for having a hard time with the chat. I'm actually kind of functionally like not just retarded. Like it's really bad. And it's really hard here to work on all this stuff at the same time. As Kanye West said, I like your titties because I can focus on two things at once. But other than that, I don't have a lot of focus, which is why God says to make me your only focus, the one way, the one truth. Because men usually can only choose one thing to focus on at once. And so we choose God and then we go from there. So to the censored chat, thank you for being patient with me. But 1920s Buffalo guy said, Nick, for some reason you hate Jim Goat. Debate Jim, stop running from him. Do you want to respond to
that? Jim Goat is a gay man. And he has sex with black guys, and he's retarded. So, and he's not famous. So, no, I will not debate him.
Wow. Okay. Wow. All right. We have that there. Anyway, I think that's the last of it all. I have to read real quickly the super chats here from. I don't think. Can I read them here from?
I'm just gonna say this out loud. I think it was a bitch move that Gavin walked off set. I'm just gonna let him know. I don't mind saying that out loud. I think that was a bitch move, and I don't care if he gets butthurt that I said that.
Bro, you are pressed.
That was. Okay. I was gonna say, look. To be fair, because I'm trying to keep the neutral ground here. I just want to say, Adam, I'm trying to keep it neutral. I don't know if you felt like I kept it neutral. I'm trying to make it a 3-on-1 or 2.
Bringing Zerka in was certainly not neutral.
Yeah, well, bringing Zerka in, I said I'm neutral. Bringing Zerka in is called just getting ratings, and it did. It bumped up like 1,000 viewers, and I ultimately got to make entertainment. So I brought Zerka in, and it created some entertainment. But I also can bring somebody else in too. But I will say that him leaving, that's why I just gave you credit, and I want to be fair. I gave you credit for sticking around because I said most people, even Nick said that, most people not only wouldn't come, but even after Gavin left, most people would have fucking left. So the reality is Gavin probably just left because he had to take a piss or a shit or something, and
he should have came back on. And I see him in the comments over here, like writing still, and it's whatever. Thanks a lot, Gavin.
Yeah. Right, speaking of the comments, he did ask that if we were fine with bringing Zerk on, and you didn't. You were the only one who didn't respond. So.
Because I was going to say, so people know that to be fair. Yeah, we have a private chat going, and I let everybody know about an hour before Zerka was coming on. It wasn't a surprise attack. And I would say if there's anything, as Nick knows, even when Nick and I first had a show together, I don't think I've been on with Vincent or Adam before. But one thing is even when I have my handlers or I have my golden handcuffs and I'm, being drugged through the tunnels. The thing of the matter is that I try to still give everyone a fair shot, and I try to do as fair as I can. I don't try to fuck anyone over for ratings, and that's I'm sure you guys don't either. So just so you know. But anyway, Toxic Voice sent $1 in on Locals chat. That's where our private chat is. Said someone needs to bring up the elders of Zion. It's too late. Icona Turner Heard said maybe ask why they say Judeo-Christian when Jews believe Christ is burning in hell. That's a good question.
We already kind of covered that though, right?
All right. Butthead sent a 07 salute. Debstup said, thanks for trying to moderate these jerks, Elijah, and even hosting this debate in the first place. Can't believe how disrespectful these guests are. Good on you for putting them in their place. And
I'm actually quite impressed with the guests. Vincent and Nick, you guys were for everything, especially Nick, with everything that went back from the time that Doyle came on my show and whatnot. There was a lot of animosity between you and me, and I'm actually impressed with the civility that was on this debate. So this guy doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. This was a really civil debate.
I appreciate you saying that. Yeah, I thought it was very civil. So
yeah,
we disagreed, but it was a good conversation.
Here's some people sent in a meme. They sent in this movie poster called "They Subvert" for that, and then the last thing they sent in a meme here saying, "You have the right to free speech. That means porn, devil worship, anything you want." And then that person says, "I'm going to criticize the Jews," and then they got mad. So that's it for that. I think we have only 2 more here on, or just a couple more statements, and we're going to be done. D. Martinez said, "Would Adam debate Jay Dyer on Christianity versus Judaism?" That's a real quick answer. Yes, no? Okay.
Yeah, I'll meet with anybody. I'm not afraid to talk to anybody.
Okay. Stavello said, "Does Adam feel good or bad? Does Adam feel good or bad fact countries like England are on the trajectory to be majority minority in 50 years?"
I feel horrible about that. The thing that pisses me off more than anything is when people who are ethnic to a specific region are pushed out of that. I want to see a quilt of humanity. I don't want to go to London and go have a be a Muslim vacation. I want to go to London and I want to see Piccadilly Circus and I want to have traditional, English culture. If I go to an English country, I want to see English culture. So I think that the worst thing that ever happened was the flooding of Europe with all the migrants and whatnot. It's disgusting.
Well, eventually we'll get rid of Catholicism.
I'm very ethnocentric in that respect.
Hey, I think we all agree on that. Let me go ahead and end with this. The last statement, and we'll end with this very nice statement, Adam. As I know, there's obviously, we see what's going on in the chat. Not Natsock Greekoid, not even sure what that means. Said, "Adam, Jesus is forgiving and loves you. It's never too late for you to come home. Total Nicker victory." And I want to clarify that's CKER, so I don't get misquoted on that one. Total Nicker victory. Shout out to you guys. So thank you so much to Nick Fuentes. Please do not give closing statements. I'm just saying this to everyone. This is not closing statement time. This is a thank you and a farewell. Please go ahead and tell people where they can find you, where they can follow you, how they can keep up with your show. Nick, let's go to Nick.
Okay, well, yeah, thanks again, everybody. I thought it was a lot of fun, and everybody here I thought had some good contributions. And Adam, I think is very intelligent. I actually watched his video and learned a lot. I think it's a good basis for research, actually. So I thought it was a great night. Thanks, everybody. And I'm on Rumble, rumble.com/NickJFuentes, and Telegram, t.me/NickJFuentes.
Yeah, Vincent, go ahead.
All right. Yeah, I agree. I watched a lot of Adam King content before coming on this debate, and I did learn a lot. I did learn a few things, so I'll admit that for sure. Thank you all for coming on and being civil for the most part. And you can find me at Daily Veracity with Vincent James on Rumble. You can find me t.me/RealVincentJames on Telegram, and then on Twitter, Vincent James or Real Vincent James.
Awesome. Adam, same to you. Go ahead and let us know how we can support you and follow you if people are interested.
I'm Adam King. I don't do this for money. I do this for fun. You can find me at InfoWarsBand.video, or you can reach me at theadamkingshow.com, theadamkingshow@gmail.com. I'm here just to speak my truth. And so anybody who wants to reach out, feel free to do that. I want to encourage everybody to check out my band channel. I have a lot of really exclusive content with some really impressive guests and a lot of good stuff in the pipes. So thank you, Elijah, for hosting this, and the other panelists. And I would thank Gavin if he stuck around, but he got emotional and walked off. So peace out.
You sound dejected, bro. You sound dejected. I don't mean that in a cruel way at all.
I'm pissed off. Honestly, I'm pissed off. I think that was such a bitch move of Gavin. Honestly, I put in a lot of research into this debate, and I really gave a lot. And I don't know. He got emotional, and he's sitting. He complains about whatever leftists being emotional, and then he just gets off.
Can I ask you
Okay, whatever. It's fine. I don't care, dude. I don't need anybody to have my back.
Quick point, just because of what you told Nick earlier. I need you guys to stay on just for this last point. When the Kanye West point earlier, where you said you didn't like Kanye West anymore because he doesn't like you. When you said you would prefer to get rid of Catholicism, which I would say is even more like a person's faith is more important than even their race. And people will disagree with me on that. Somebody say they're connected, but I mean, ultimately, people need to be saved. And they need to believe on Jesus Christ. And the Catholics especially really believe in their church and what's going on. If you believe that Catholicism should be gotten rid of, would you be upset according to your logic if Gavin no longer liked you after that?
I don't really care, to be honest with you. I really don't care.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry.
It doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me in one way, shape, or form or another. You know, Kanye was different. I don't have a relationship with Kanye West. I'm not listening. You know, Kanye West came out and like, I'll tell you, like, it rubbed me the wrong way. My relationship with Catholicism is based in years of oppression, generations of oppression. So I don't really care. If somebody's too sensitive to hear that his religion has persecuted my people for 2,000 years, don't be my friend. I don't fucking care.
Okay. All right. I'm sorry, Adam. All right. So I'm going to end on that. To you guys, Crew Jones said without, people that in charge of the U.S. border, they don't have, or I don't know. It's just people don't have dual citizenship that aren't Israeli. Thank you to Nick Fuentes. Thank you to Vincent James. Thank you to Adam King. Thank you to Gavin McInnes. Guys, I just want to remind you that as you're closing out the show, please know that this show is made possible directly by you and your sponsorship. You can get right here. This is, let me see if I can get that there. It is at censor.tv, promo code offensive, 20% off a membership. It is the best way to support the show. To all the locals, people supporting locals and everything, that's awesome. And don't forget to support our sponsor for today as well, which is Purge Suddenly. Get the parasites cleared from your intestines and get your mood back at the purgestore.com, promo code Elijah for 10% off. It is so helpful that you guys do that. Anyway, to my guests and to everybody involved, as I like to say, have a great rest of the week, as always, and may God bless the United States of America. I'm signing out.